This is the regular governing board meeting for the Phoenix Union High School District for August, Thursday, the 7th of 2025.
This is a test out of WebEx. This is a test of the translation software. This is the test of the translation software. This is test number 3 of the language software.
Okay. The special meeting study session is called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present with the exception of Board Member Cota, Representative Marquez, and Board Member Pastor Rivera. Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed. Also, please note that we have Spanish interpreting services available in the back of the room.
Si necesita intérprete en español, favor de mirar a nuestro intérprete que se encuentra a un lado del cuarto. Gracias.
The first item on the agenda is 2A, presentation and discussion of governing board policy, section B, school board governance and operations. Ms. Andrade.
Okay, well, that's not working, but you can probably all hear me in the live stream. Okay.
Good evening, President Napa, members. On July 18th, we had a board retreat, you may recall, where we talked about school board governance and operations, that section of our policy, and there was a request made at that time to really dig in a little bit more and to have an awareness of those policies. And so we set aside this time for a study session with Lynn Adams to review our governing board Section B policies. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. We are going to walk you through your Section B of your board policies. I have read these many times, but I'll just tell you there were some things in there that surprised me when I dug into them a little bit more. So there may be some things in there that surprise you too. So there's no good way, let's see, can you get my presentation up here? Oh, it is? There we go. Okay, so, and hopefully probably off. See, oh, I needed to turn this on. Hello. So, here we go. So, I'll just talk to you a little bit about the policies. So, all of the B policies, which we're talking about today, are all related to school board governance. They are policies BA through BKA. Each of them addresses a different topic. So for example, all policies that begin with BD are board organizational issues. BE are board meeting issues. So each of the B whatever are a separate kind of set. Policies that have a -R at the end are regulations, and policies with a -E are exhibits. There are 58 separate B policy sections. I am not going to talk about every one of them in detail today. I'm going to try to group them, talk about them in sections so you have an idea of what they say. I'm not going to discuss the exhibits or the regulations. And many of the policies, we've sort of talked about this before, are just restatements of the law. They're not actually what I think of as policies. I'm not going to discuss those in depth. I may mention them once in a while, but you can't change them. They're restatements of the law. So they're not policies that you can actually change. So we'll talk about them, or I'll mention them maybe in passing. But if we went through each of the 58 separate policies, many of which are several pages long, we'd be here all night, and I know none of us wants that. So the first policy, policy BA, it's only one policy, so there's just BA. It's related to operational goals. It's sort of the overarching policy. It says the governing board is responsible to the people of the district. So the board, it then digs in a little deeper, has to identify and focus on operational goals for the district based on community input and district needs, and then you require the administration to identify short-term and long-term strategies that work to meet those goals within the budget. That's basically what you guys have been doing in your training for the last 2 years, talking about what the goals are, getting the input of people, and then setting the goals and requiring the administration to work towards those goals. Policy BB. This is related to board legal status. There's policies BB through BBBE for this one. They all discuss governing board as a whole and individual board member authority and obligations. So the statement that they start out with is basically that the governing board only has the authority that's expressed or reasonably implied in the Constitution, the statutes, and the regulations. That's the law. That's not really a policy, but it's the statement that kind of leads this section off. So based on that principle, the governing board then has the authority to adopt the policies that it needs for the organization, evaluation, and governance of the district. And to do that, you adopt policies, you ensure that the policies are implemented operationally by delegating primarily to the superintendent, and then you evaluate, again, the district's operation and educational program. Again, what you've been doing through a lot of your training and your study sessions for the last couple years. So let's talk about individual board members now. So you are obligated, this is one of them that has a long list, but I think it's important. So you need to become familiar with the laws and the regulations and the policies that govern this district. You need to have a general knowledge of the district operations. That doesn't mean you get involved in them, but you have a general knowledge of district operations. You work harmoniously with other board members without neglecting a proper share of the work. So you can't be a slacker, but you also can't dominate everything. You vote and act in board meetings impartially for the good of the district. You accept the majority vote in all cases and support the district, even if you voted opposite. Once the decision is made, you support the majority vote. You accept responsibility for confidentiality.
Coming back to the vote and on the previous slide, someone who abstains. I know in other governing boards, sometimes that's taken as an affirmative and not just an abstention from the vote. What's the policy here at PXU?
So an abstention is not an affirmative vote, but regardless of how you vote, whether you vote yay, nay, or abstain, once a decision is made, everyone on the board under your policy is supposed to support the decision. So the next responsibilities are confidentiality. You have a lot of confidential information that you get about students, about employees. Some of it's confidential by law, much of it's confidential by law, but just generally be mindful of confidentiality issues. To represent the board and the district to the public in a manner that promotes both interest and support. To refer complaints to the proper school authorities and to refrain from individual counsel and action. That really goes back to, again, the idea that you really only have authority as an entire board, and to perform other appropriate duties that may arise. So again, only the board as a whole has authority over the district, and only by voting at a public meeting. You'll see this theme comes in there's going to be other policies that discuss this, and that means that individual board members have no authority unless the entire board delegates the authority to a member by voting at a public meeting. So, for example, for that one, when we were negotiating a contract with the superintendent, there was some authority delegated to certain members of the board to act in connection with those negotiations on behalf of the board. That's a good example of that. Otherwise, Cigna on her own does not have authority to just say, I don't like that term of the contract. But if she's been given the authority to act on behalf of the board, she has that authority. So now we're into policy BC. This is board ethics, and there's policies BCA through BCB-E. So it's both board ethics and conflicts of interest. So again, we start off with another list of things that you need to do. This one's a little longer, I think. Board members need to improve education by attending all board meetings insofar as possible and being informed about the issues to be decided at those meetings. Recognizing that decisions should be made only after discussion at publicly held board meetings. Again, sort of an open meeting law-ish, but also keep an open mind. Make sure you come to a board meeting and hear what's said. Making all decisions based on available facts and independent judgment, and refusing to surrender that judgment to individuals or special interest groups. Encouraging the expression of opinion by all board members and seeking communication between the board and students, staff, and the community. working with other board members to establish effective board policies, and delegating authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent. It's another theme that you see through here. You are not operating the district, the superintendent is. You set the goals, she determines how to implement those goals and how to make sure that what you want to accomplish is accomplished. Communicating public reaction to other board members and the superintendent about board policies and programs. Being informed about current educational issues by individual study and through participation in seminars. So basically a board education piece. Supporting the employment of persons best qualified to serve as school staff members and insisting on a regular and impartial evaluation of personnel. Avoiding conflicts of interest and refraining from using your board position for personal or partisan gain. Taking no personal action that will compromise the board or the district administration, including your need, again, to respect privileged, confidential information. And then the last one, they kind of summarize, or you, the policy, remembering that a board member's greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the students attending the district schools. So those are kind of ethics. Now we'll go to conflict of interest. The conflict of interest policy is really just a restatement of the statute, which I know we've gone over before, but basically it says you cannot vote on or participate in discussion regarding any matter about which you or a relative, and the relative is defined very broadly, if you remember, have a money or a property interest in, unless it is an interest, unless it's one of the remote interests that's defined by statute. But generally speaking, if you have an interest in something, or your brother, your grandparent has an interest, that's a conflict of interest. You need to declare it so that it's noted in the minutes, and then you need to not participate in, again, in either discussion or vote. So you can't sway your fellow board members and then say, but I'm not voting. Again, this is really just a repeat of the statute. Okay, so now we're going to talk about board organization. The next couple policies are the ones where there are a couple things that I was like, oh, hey, I didn't know that. So just both BD and BE have some of those mixed in. So this is board organization policies BDA through BDH. It talks about board officers, committees, attorneys, and consultants. So the board members elect a president each January. The president's duties are in your policy. They are to preside over all meetings, conduct the meetings in accordance with law and your policies, consult with the superintendent on meeting agendas, encourage and maintain orderly and democratic participation, keep discussions factual and on the subject at hand, and allow for a full and complete exploration of all items on the agenda. As those of you, well, as President Napa knows, it's a really tough job, I think, to be president. That's a lot. It sounds like you can't nod off during a meeting. You got to keep all those kinds of things in mind, and even before a meeting, consulting with the superintendent on meeting agendas. It's a big job. There are a lot of duties. The clerk's duties, on the other hand, are just whatever the board decides. So, Signa, they can tell you whatever the board can decide to give you. They're not set forth in policy. So the establishment of the policies is the responsibility of the board. And again, we've already talked about this. The execution of the policies is a function of the superintendent. So the superintendent translates the board's policies into operations and administration of the district. This is, again, one of those things that is baked into these policies, B, throughout. It is obviously an important piece of the B policies, the board policies. The superintendent can delegate authority to other employees and develop procedures that she considers necessary to the efficient operation of the district. This is one of those places where I was like, oh, hey, you can establish committees, but the committees cannot be permanent or standing committees, and they cannot be comprised only of board members. A board member and the superintendent are ex officio non-voting members of any committee. Committee recommendations are advisory only, and I missed another quote. I have a floating quote there, sorry about that, but they're advisory only, Any ad hoc committees, because they all have to be ad hoc, they can't be permanent committees, have to present recommendations to the board based on research and facts. The board president has to set rules for any committee that are approved by the board before the committee's first meeting, and those rules have to include a written and specific statement of the purpose of the committee, the dates on which interim and final committee reports are due, the date or event upon which the committee will be terminated, the extent to which facilities and other things will be provided to the committee, and any other guidelines. And then the superintendent ensures that all committee meetings comply with the open meeting law and that the committee members get that training on the open meeting law. So I don't know if some of those were a surprise to me, I'll just be honest. Like the requirements of what you have to set for the committees, like kind of the specificity of it was a little surprising to me. Maybe you all knew that already, but it's in policy.
President Napa, members of the board. My question is around, several districts do have standing committees, maybe not in Arizona, but in other areas, around budget or around enrollment, around issues that are continue. They're not just a one-stop shop ad hoc. Is that something that's statutory, or is that something that we can adjust as a board?
You can adjust. I guess that was sort of, that you can have them. You just have policies that say you don't have them. So, yeah.
I think some of that language is written to address quorum.
Yeah.
President Napa, you don't have to have a board member or superintendent on the committees, though, correct?
You do not. You do not. It's still, but as long as it's a committee of the board, it's still subject to the open meeting law, even if there are no board members on it. So that's why the superintendent has to ensure that they comply with the open meeting law, give them the tools they need. But this is one of those areas where it may be something that you want to think about if it's working for you, if it's not, if you're complying with it, if you're not, all those kinds of things, because it's pretty detailed, and it did surprise me, and I've read your policies pretty much, but this one was like, oh, when I had to dig into it to look at it. So then some more board organizational things. The board may hire a private lawyer to advise it or the district. Thank you. That is me, at least one of your private lawyers who advise you. This one's funny. The superintendent or the designee can contact the lawyer by telephone or in person to discuss day-to-day issues. I'm sure that was put in long ago so that it was okay to talk by phone, but it's obviously not the reality since it's limited to a telephone or in person. Maybe, again, something that you want to consider taking a look at, whether that even needs to be there. Something that I know Eileen has worked on for you that is up to date is the superintendent or district general counsel can accept service of process for the board. That's a great policy to have in there. It avoids having people, process servers, come to you at the beginning of a meeting and, disrupting a meeting and serving all of you, although they still try, and Eileen runs interference. So this is a great policy to have in there, and it's, again, recent one. And then you can hire consultants with specialized skills or when needed for workload issues. So let's talk about board issues. Board meetings. There are a couple here that kind of surprised me too. So this is a lot of policies, BE through BEDI, all related to board meetings. Many of the policies are just restatements of the law, the requirements of open meeting law. For example, all of those things are sort of baked into your policies. There's no harm in having them, but they're not really policies. They're the law. So, but maybe a good reminder. It's up to you whether you want to keep them. So again, this goes back to the president of the board. We have more here. She is responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting. So she has the authority to rule on matters related to board meeting conduct, like the time allowed for board discussion. If she decides 1 minute instead of 3 minutes, that's fine. The appropriateness of a subject being presented and the suitability of time for presentations. All of her rulings on those are subject to review by the entire board at a subsequent board meeting as long as the matter is included on that agenda. That seems sort of weird to me, only because it's already passed. She's already said, we're going to give you 1 minute, But maybe, you know, if you had a president who was doing stuff that you thought was crazy repeatedly, maybe it would be somehow useful, but I've never seen that used ever.
President Napa, members of the board, that is interesting to me because if he or she is allowed to, you know, limit something and they want, the rest of the board wants to have a discussion on it, the next meeting, again, the agenda of that is decided by the superintendent along with the board president. So it could be a
Yeah, it's
conflict or a block in a
yeah,
sense.
it could be. It's a weird one too, because they're rulings about conduct in meetings, not actually, like, that's what it says, conduct, not content, but you and the president do control the content of the meeting too. So again, I guess I suspect it was in there probably, who knows, it's probably been there for 50 years and never been used, but just, it's there. So the agenda for your meetings, the format is actually set in policy. So the format that you have is in your policy. Doesn't have to be, but it is. So if you decided ever to change the format of your agendas, you'd have to change your policy. The order of agenda items can be changed by a board vote at a meeting, though. But they're in the way they are because they're, again, complying with policy. The superintendent and the board president prepare the agenda and determine what to include. They are the gatekeepers. That is policy. I always get this question like, but that's not open meeting law. Open meeting law says nothing about meeting agenda preparation, nothing. It is all policy. This is a pretty common policy to have for school district governing boards, that the superintendent and the board president prepare the meeting agenda, but it's your policy. Board members who want to place an item on the agenda can notify the board president at least 10 working days before the meeting, but then the superintendent has the discretion to include requested items or not. Again, sort of a weird tension there. So you let the board president know, but at the end of the day, even if the board president wanted it, the superintendent under your policies has the discretion to decide whether or not to include that item. Did you have a question? No? Okay. I was being sarcastic. Okay. No, that's fine. As long as it's not sarcasm directed towards me, I will ignore it. Sorry, then I called you out. So the agenda and supporting materials have to be distributed to board members at least 24 hours before a meeting. I know that sometimes there have been requests for additional time, but guess what? It's in your policy for 24 hours, so you comply with the superintendent and her team, comply with the policy if they get them to you 24 hours before a meeting. It also allows you to use a consent agenda. Again, not something in open meeting law, so this does allow, your policies allow you to use a consent agenda. What to include on the consent agenda is also decided by the superintendent after discussion with the board president, but the superintendent, again, makes that decision. And then board members can remove a consent agenda item for discussion. These are your rules of order for board meetings, and we've gone over these at some point probably, but all motions require a second. The president can make or second motions. Votes are ayes, nays, or abstains. A motion to table an item is allowed but without any discussion. A motion to adjourn is allowed at any time, but again without discussion. Motions are decided by a majority of members voting. Votes can be group, roll call, show of hands. They cannot be secret. It can't be written down on a paper that you all pass in, because members of the public have to see how you vote. So as long as they can see, but except obviously there are certain items that have to be a roll call, like the budget. And then Robert's Rules of Order are just a guide.
Madam President, a question on the votes available. So there's aye, nay, and abstain. Is there also a not voting or not present, even if someone is possibly present?
There is not.
Okay.
Ayes, nays, abstain.
Okay, so if someone is not in a meeting, how's that recorded?
If they're not in the meeting, they're not present. As long as there's a quorum, then
Okay.
the members of again, the members voting, the majority of the members voting
Got it,
carries.
thanks.
Yeah. So next we'll talk about public comment. So the policy is written to say, public comments are important to meetings, but meetings need to be orderly and efficient. So we're going to set some rules. So members of the public need to complete a form to provide public comments at a meeting. The president maintains order, again, enforcing speaker time limits. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. That's in your policy. At one point, that was not. You were all, like, some of you were literally not born when I was representing the board, and they had no speaker time limits at all. Does anybody here remember this? And people would come and filibuster, like, for a long time. They would talk for an hour or something, and once you don't have a time limit, you don't have a time limit. You can't shut somebody down. Obviously, you could for just because you don't like what they're saying. Like, oh, we'll let you go on forever, but you, ugh. So thank goodness this was written into your policy, but it is 3 minutes, but the president does have the authority to set a shorter time limit. This is an interesting one, too. If an individual or group presents repetitive information from meeting to meeting, the president can require them to submit their information in writing to the board. So, if you had somebody who came every meeting and said the same thing, or a group that came and said the same thing, the president has a discretion to say, thank you so much, we have got important business we've got to get to today. We've heard this, we've heard it, but please submit it in writing. So again, I didn't know that.
Madam President, also I'm sorry, I'm going to circle back to the last question I had because I think I meant to say if there's an aye, there's a nay, and there's an abstain. Let's just say someone doesn't give a vocal recorded whatever answer. What would that be recorded
An
as?
abstain.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification.
And yes, of course. And usually at that point, one of us will say, did you vote? Because again, we want to make sure that the record is complete too. So is that an abstention? Are you not voting? Try to get some clarity around it. Because the last thing any of us want is to, let's just say that there were 7 board members here, it was a 3-3 or something like that. Later to have somebody say, oh no, I voted aye or nay. So most of the time, either Eileen or I or Jorge will kind of ask for clarification if it's not clear how someone voted.
And I guess, again, to that question, so is that a policy issue? Because I thought there was a non-voted recorded, I thought there was like a recording for a non-vote, just for someone not present, even if they are present.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, this is in your policy, and like I said, I guess the interesting thing is, regardless, you're not voting for whatever you call it. It's going to be counted as a not vote,
Okay.
as an abstention.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
We also take a roll call in the beginning of the meetings, if you recall, and that will notify the record that you are not here if you're absent. So it's captured throughout all of the votes for that meeting.
Okay. So public comments, again, you have one. Personal attacks by members of the public are discouraged. And other policies that we'll get to in a minute are establish the proper way of handling legitimate complaints about individuals. That's that little, I've summarized that last sentence, but that is in this policy too. This is one you may want to think about. All presentations must be given in person. No electronic presentations will be allowed. That's again related to public comments. So we may want to take a look at, because obviously we have people who are calling in, and I don't know if what in person means, but this may be something we want to tweak a little bit.
Madam President, let's go back to the prior one. If an individual or group represents repetitive information from meeting to meeting, the president can require them to submit their information in writing. When does the president do that?
There's unclear. This is just what the policy says. I think it's in the president's discretion, and she could say, I mean, this is my interpretation of the policy, is that she would say to them, thank you. You know, you've been here for the last 7 meetings, and you've presented the same information. I'm going to ask you now to just submit the information to the board. We appreciate your comments, but we have important things to get through, and we need to move forward. So it could be either here, maybe in advance, maybe if she gets the comment card and sees that they're back, maybe she talks to them, but you have some thoughts?
I do,
Oh, good.
President Napa, members of the board. I have seen this before when maybe a community action group or a team or just a lot of individuals, maybe from a school, and they all are saying the same thing at Call to the Public or representing the same opinion, you know, whatever that may be. And so the board president will ask them to have one representative and then collect the letters from the Carl Hayden community or wherever it is and make sure that each board member gets a copy of the letters. There could be 30 of them or statements.
And I've seen that before. This is this is slightly a variation, which is it says from meeting to meeting, not repetitive information at the same meeting, which again is within the president's discretion. If there are 120 people who want to talk and there are clearly 2 sides, she could say each side has 30 minutes, you guys divide up, figure out among yourself how you're going to divide up, who's going to speak, however long you want it. But that is within I know, but this is why I wrote this one down, because this one is called out specifically from meeting to meeting repetitive information. So I don't know how often it happens. Again, I haven't seen it. I've seen exactly what Superintendent Andrade just talked about, but I've never seen like the president who's actually done this. And this is one of those policies that's in, you know, most Arizona school district policies. So it's just sort of there. So again, you may want to think about kind of this presentations must be given in person, what that means. Maybe we tweak that. Maybe we say something like, you know, people can provide comments either in person or if allowed via, you know, telephone, or, you know, we could just in whatever manner the board allows, something like that. You could make it broad so that people could do it over Zoom, people could do it by telephone, people could do however. But I'm not quite sure what the word presentations means here, but it is under the public comments section, so it's somehow tied to that. So again, this was one of those I was like, okay, hey. Okay, there's no BF policies. There may have been at one time, but there are not BF policies now. So we'll go to BG, which is your policy process, which I know you've been working on too. So take a look at what is here versus what you've been kind of talking about recently. I saw at one of the meetings I wasn't at where you were working on a process. President Napa.
Thank you. Lynn, can we go back to 24, slide number 24 about the meeting to meeting? If the board president requires the written submission and the person shows up anyways, or the group, and they give that same public comment, then obviously the president can stop them from giving it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. You're allowing them to provide public comment just in a different way, a different manner. And again, I would obviously give a long leash on this. You wouldn't want to do it after 2 meetings. But if it's clearly something that's going to continue or has continued, then I think you've got the discretion to do that. The idea, again, is public comments are great, but you have stuff you have to get done at board meetings, either statutory deadlines, you're running a district, you need to find out about the operations, and so public comment should not take over an entire meeting. They just can't. They can't hijack your meeting, or at least not every meeting. Otherwise, you can't get things done. And we've all been here at midnight, and, you know, it's tough to actually really be thinking critically about what you really need to be thinking about. And the items are on the agenda because they have to be accomplished, or they're things that you need to know about. So it's trying to balance. It's giving you, in particular, President Napa, the discretion to try to figure out where that balance is by kind of controlling the public comment. And I'm not saying they're not important. It's just that balance. So Adopting policies that govern the operations and provide for this efficient operation of the district is one of the board's chief responsibilities, which is why we're looking at these policies. So here's your policy adoption process. Again, in policy. Policy proposals can come from anyone: board members, administration staff, consultants, students, parents, the public. The administration then studies the proposals and provides a recommendation to the board. Then they come to first reading. Again, the board makes an initial review of a proposed policy. Changes can be requested at the time. Again, the first and second reading are not statutorily required. They are policy. They're your own policies for how you're going to adopt policies. Then at the second reading, you can discuss and potentially take action on a policy. You can adopt a policy without 2 readings in the case of a board-declared emergency. That was a little surprising to me, too. I thought you could just because you felt that it wasn't necessary, timing was required. Board-declared emergency may be language that you want to think about, too, whether that is, maybe there are other instances that may not be what somebody typically thinks of an emergency, where you may think it's necessary for us to adopt a policy more quickly than a 2-read version of it. So, but that's what it says right now. You can also require, either at first reading or second reading, you can require additional review of a proposed policy. And we've seen that happen with some of the ones that have come before.
Clerk Oliver, members of the board. I guess I have some questions around what the board declared emergency, because oftentimes, whether it's legislative or not, at times with the opening of school, and that's the urgency, is that consistency among policy for kids, whether that be cell phones, hazing, whatever the policy may be. And so when they make the motion to waive a second read, do they just simply say, I declare, an emergency because the school is starting and we need to adopt these policies? Like, what is declaring an emergency? Is it just saying it, declaring it, or is it an official process?
No, I think it's just saying it, but I would probably, again, this is one of those things I wanted to call out. I would probably tweak this language just to give the board discretion. Because emergency sounds better than urgent, different than urgency to me. There's some urgency, or there's some statutory reason, there's a timing reason. Emergency, a board declared emergency is to me a heightened issue. So I think this is one of those where you may want to think about that you can waive the 2 readings at the board's discretion. Let the board have the discretion to waive the 2 readings, because there are those issues where you have to have a policy. The legislature has just adjourned, and you got to have a policy by the beginning of the school year, either because there was an emergency clause or just because it's practical. And so I think you could say that's a board declared emergency, but I'd sure like to kind of keep the sanctity of the word emergency. So take a look at that too. So the superintendent is authorized to work with a consulting service on your policies, and it is identified in the policies as the Arizona State Arizona School Boards Association, there we go, to keep your policies up to date. So, but the superintendent is responsible for letting you know that policies are out of date and need to be revised. So she can work with a consultant, but it's ultimately her call, although it's really you working with a consultant, but if you decide to go in a different direction, we're going to have to change this policy to make it so that we don't call out exactly which organization you will be going with. If you keep this policy when you go with somebody else, if you do.
This was written, obviously, I believe, because ASBA was the only one in the state. Can it be written where it's just a consulting service as defined or approved by the board?
Yes. All of these policies were originally written by ASBA. So my guess is they wrote that in. I don't know, but my guess is they wrote that in. But part of your policies, you buy the forms, but you can change them and adapt them so that they fit what you want, how you feel. So the input of the consulting service is only one source of information. You should also consider the reactions of staff, the community, when you determine whether or not policies need to be revised. You can vote to repeal or suspend any policy that's not required by law. If a policy is suspended, which I've never seen in this board, you can reinstate it without following the two-step process, which makes sense. You just suspended it, now you're putting it back in. It's not like you want to maybe go through. You could go through the two-step process, but you don't have to. So this last provision, sorry, you may want to look at the second reading. Oh, right. So for this last one, though, it's anyone can request a waiver from a policy. That's what Eileen is saying. You may want to request a waiver. Again, then maybe this ties back in to the second read. But it's interesting because this says, including an employee organization agreement for up to 3 years. If a waiver is granted, the requester has to provide information, including submitting an annual report noting how the waiver impacts school improvement. And that is a summary of a longer provisions about what needs to be provided. So I'm not quite sure why this is there, what the intent was. I don't kind of intuit what it was, what the reason for it was, but just so you know, that is there too. So again, if you grant a waiver, there's a submission, an annual report that has to be provided, and it really has to go to, we are waiving this policy requirement because we think it's in the schools and students' best interest, so we have to talk about school improvement. It's probably there because there was, because of something related to an employee, again, an employee organization agreement that somebody once upon a time wanted to waive. Don't know. Okay, we're almost done, guys, I promise. We're at BH. Policies, BH, are about board communication. That's BH through BHD. It's communication and school symbols, which is sort of odd to have a school symbol thing in the middle of your board operational policies, but there it is. Schools can select a school color, song, motto, flag, and a ring, as long as they support the goals of the district and are not discriminatory. Again, not an odd policy perhaps to have, but weird to have in your board operational policies, in your board communication. But perhaps this is a method of, it's viewed as a method of communicating with the public, but it just seems a little odd there. So just throwing that out there. So these are really, these policies are really about your communications, the employees and the public's communication with you. Employees have to first communicate about employment or school matters with the administration first. They don't come to you and say, oh my gosh, this is going on. You have to allow them to go through the official communication channels with the superintendent and her staff. If that person's not satisfied after they've exhausted all official channels, including any appeals, they can communicate in writing with you as long as the communication is not anonymous. But the whole idea of this policy is district employees are that. They're employees of the district, they're not employees of the board. They're employees of the district, not employees of the board. So if they come to you, you should refer them to the superintendent or their supervisor. You are not the first stop for employment matters, nor should you be. And again, this all sort of ties back to the idea that none of you have any authority as individuals. You only have authority as a board based on board action taken at a public meeting. So I want you all to remember this. You're going to get an email from somebody or communication that makes you sad or sympathetic. And the thing to do is to refer them to the superintendent to go through the proper processes, because you're only going to mess things up. You're going to make it complicated and messy if you don't do that. That's in your policy too, so I'm not just saying that. That's a policy you need to follow. Community members should also do the same thing. They should communicate with the administration first. If the concern's not satisfied, then they can communicate in writing with you, in writing, with the board, but it can't be anonymous again. Again, this idea is you should give the administration an opportunity to resolve concerns before you become involved, because they know what's going on a lot more on the ground sometimes than you do. And again, it doesn't mean that the concern might not be valid, sympathetic, but let the superintendent and her team do her job. And then, of course, I just had to put, this is not in your policy. Remember the open meeting law concerns and potential pitfalls when you get emails to all board members. People do email all of you at the same time. President Knopp is really good about saying, Lynn, can you jump in here and remind everybody? But just a reminder that those, when you fire off an email response, if you respond to everybody, you may have violated the open meeting law. So that's another concern about these issues. Okay, policies BI, they're all about board members. BIA through BIA are all about orientation, development, insurance, and reimbursement. These policies have actually been recently worked on by Eileen, so they're pretty up to date. Board members who are elected but haven't taken office get access to information, training, and meetings to help them prepare. I think you all did, which was great. New board members, this again is in your policy, receive training on open meeting law, public records law, governance versus management, school finance, academic accountability, educational equity, and conflicts. And I listed all those out because you'll see that comes back in a second. So, all board members are encouraged to attend trainings to improve your governance skills. This is the part of the policy that was recently worked on and revised. You periodically decide which trainings appear to be beneficial. You budget funds annually for training for board members. You decide which members are going to attend trainings, and then each board member also receives a pro rata share of funds to decide what training they think is important to them. And then you cannot participate in any training that hasn't been budgeted by the board. But the pro rata training, the pro rata amount has been budgeted by the board, so it's a budget issue. You can't basically go off and then stick the district with a bill later on. So all of you should receive continuous training on the same subjects as new board members at least once every 4 years. So there's the list: open meeting law, public records law, governance versus management, school finance, academic accountability, educational equity, and conflicts. Every 4 years, at least once every 4 years, all board members are supposed to be receiving training on all of those topics. All board members rate the quality of the trainings you attend on a scale of 1 to 4, with 4 is highly effective and 1 is ineffective. If training or provider receives a score of 3 or less after at least 3 ratings, then they're not going to be included for future board training for at least 2 years. So please rate this training a 4. Otherwise, I will never be back to see you. Board member, oh, yes. Lizette.
Madam President and Lynn, can you go back to the bullet? Oh, wait, yeah, the ratings. How do we rate them? Like, I guess this is the first I've heard of, like, us rating our trainings. What has happened in the past?
I think this is a pretty new provision. It's one that worked that you suggested. It worked previously, so I'll let Eileen talk about it.
This is actually one that was proposed by Board Member Marquez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
And if I might, President Napa,
I
members,
thought it was yours.
although it's not specific in there, it's my memory, and again, jump in if I'm off point here, but it was more about conferences that they went to and then came back from and said, ASBA, and it wasn't very good, and I give it a 2 or a 1, and again, it wouldn't be included or recommended for future board trainings.
It's correct, because it's tied into the budgetary amount that we're putting in there for board members. Right.
And then for someone like Dr. Ramos, would that be at the conclusion of his contract then? Because he does trainings all along as part of a contract with us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So
we'll just put this into practice soon, is what we're saying.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it going to be like a piece of paper and we rate? Or do we just do it verbally? How is that going to happen?
President Napa, members, that's a great question. I would think it would be an electronic version that we'd just have record of. But
What? Yeah, you need to talk about how you want to do all this in a meeting, or you can have a policy like that. You could figure out if you wanted to have a regulation that implements this part of the policy. Lots of ways. But yes, this is new. This is relatively new, like in the last year. So you can be reimbursed for expenses for attending training, but your spouse, family members, friends not reimbursed, obviously. I think that makes sense. Board members who receive outside funding for attending training must attempt to avoid creating a conflict of interest by accepting the funding. Just think of that. You've accepted something of value. You need to think about how that's going to play out. We had that play out over the last couple years, different ways. If the entire board doesn't attend a training, the attendees should share the information with other board members orally or in writing. This may be something like at the next board meeting, if some of you go to a training, you just say, hey, during kind of a board member, at the very end of the meeting, here are the 5 takeaways from that meeting, for those of you who weren't able to attend. These were the 5 things that really resonated with me. The idea, again, it's a board expense, so share the training with the entire board. Board member expenses for performing district business that's authorized by the board are only reimbursed to the extent allowed by law. This next one is one of those that's sort of a hybrid policy statute. The district can obtain insurance or participate in a self-insurance pool to cover employees and board members if they're acting within the scope of their employment or authority. So if you get sued and you're acting within the scope of your authority, the district has insurance to cover you. And again, the policy restates the law that board members are immune from personal liability for, quote, all acts done and actions taken in good faith within the scope of their authority during duly constituted regular and special meetings. That's the law, and it just basically restates that. But I put that there just to remind you of that, too. And then current board members, I'm not going to go into this in detail. Current board members, former board members, and their dependents can participate in the district's insurance plans as long as it doesn't cost the district any money. There are a lot of different additional requirements. If this is something that you are interested in, you could take a look at this policy, find out what the additional requirements are, particularly for if someone were to die, for example, when they were a board member and they have dependents who are on the insurance. There are some specifics there. So, but this is, as long as it doesn't cost the district anything, that's one of the benefits of being a current and former board member. Policy BJ is just a single policy legislation. It basically just says the board's going to participate in legislative programs through state and national school boards. And you authorize the superintendent to actively participate in the development of legislation that has a positive effect on educational programs of the district. That's basically the whole policy. And then policy BK, associations and delegates. You can choose to be a member of a local, state, or national school board association. The superintendent will make sure that the cost of those are included in any budget preparation. So if it costs $25,000 to be a member of ASBA, superintendent is going to make sure that that's included. And then you elect or appoint delegates to the association if you join. So that's it. But let me talk about next steps really quick. This is my last slide. Read all of the B policies and make sure you understand them. I mean, I told you, I have literally provided training before on pieces of the B policies, but when I had to sit down and read all 58 of them, there were things in there that I was surprised about that I hadn't realized before. And, you know, I noted some of them, but sit down and read them. It's going to take you a while. It's probably 125 pages. Some of them are not full pages, but sit down and read them. That's part of your obligation under your policies. You're supposed to understand your policies. Are there any policies that you think need to be changed or deleted? We talked about some of the things that just caught my eye, but there may be, and those were just sort of like, hey, is this what you're doing? Is this working? But maybe there are things that inherently you just don't think are good policies, or things that are not addressed in your policies for your own governance and operation that you think should be there. And then again, are there any policies that you would like to change, delete, or add? Is there anything that needs to be changed? Is there anything you think should be changed? even though you work with a policy service, regardless of what policy service you end up with, you're responsible for the district's policies. That is your primary obligation. And so, and these in particular govern your operations. So you should make sure that you understand them and that they really reflect what you're doing and what you want to do. That is it. And ta-da! Right on time.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions for the council, for Lynn or Eileen? Ready to move on? Wonderful. 3A, motion to adjourn the study session. Is there a motion to adjourn the study session?
I motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Board Member Cota and second by Clerk Oliver. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. 1 minute warning. We start in 1 minute. Yeah.
Should we be doing that anyway on the first week? Probably not.
The regular meeting is called to order. Will the secretary please note that all board members are present with the exception of Board Member Pastor Rivera and Representative Marquez. Is he online? Yes, okay, thank you so much. Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed. Also, we offer Spanish interpreting services at the back of the room.
Si necesita intérprete en español, favor de mirar a nuestro intérprete que se encuentra a un lado del cuarto. Gracias.
First item on the agenda is 1C, Pledge of Allegiance and Moment of Silence. We will stand as Clerk Oliver leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing while a moment of silence is observed. Thank you, and please be seated. Next item on the agenda is 1D, Land Acknowledgement Statement. Please remain seated as Board Member Cota reads the PXU Land Acknowledgement Statement.
As a member of the St. Carlos Apache tribe, it's my honor to lead today's acknowledgement. If you know it, join me in acknowledging the Creator, B'Gewik Dan Shita, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, board member. We can't have a religious prayer before you start to read the land acknowledgement.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as
Out
we
of order.
forgive our
Out of
debtors.
order. I will read the land acknowledgement.
I will appeal the decision of the chair.
What do I do?
The president runs the meeting and is able to do what she's doing at this point
Robert's
in
Rules
time.
of Order state, point of order, Robert's Rules of Order states we are allowed to appeal the decision of the chair, and it should be brought up to a vote.
We
Okay.
do not have Robert's rules as an absolute guide. It is
broke it.
just to be a slight guidance, so the board president can make that decision.
Thank you. Moving on to the land acknowledgement. The Phoenix Union High School District is responsible for and committed to creating an educational environments that prioritize the achievements of Native American students. We are committed to making their cultural identity visible by acknowledging that our school district resides upon the ancestral lands of the original caretakers, the Huhukam, ancestors of the Akmil Atam, Ankh-Anthemel Atam, and Akchin. These sovereign nations are presently known as the Gila River Indian Community, Salt River Pima Indian Community, Tohono O'odham Nation, and Akchin Indian Community. This formal acknowledgement is dedicated to the 22 sovereign nations of Arizona. PXU understands the importance of providing reparations through truth-telling. We recognize the historical injustices not traditionally taught in the classroom and are committed to practices prioritizing Native American knowledge, history, representation, and healing. We commit with an open mind to always respect the land, its histories, and its ancestors. Next item on the agenda is 2A, recognitions and accomplishments. We're thrilled about the incredible celebrations happening tonight. We'll honor the outstanding achievements of our students and staff. Clerk Oliver.
All right, tonight, I am honored to open our recognitions and accomplishment with our Administrator of the Year. This year's Administrator of the Year honoree exemplifies the spirit of service, leadership, and innovation that defines our district. Known for their calm presence, sharp intellect, and unwavering commitment to student success, this individual has transformed school culture through restorative practices and equity-driven leadership. Their dedication goes far beyond the job description, from making personal sacrifices to support colleagues and students to lead initiatives that improve instructions and campus safety. Colleagues describe this person as a rare blend of emotional intelligence, creativity, and professionalism. Their impact is felt in every corner of the school community, and their work continues to inspire others to go places and do things that matter. In fact, their dedicated service in their previous role helped separate them from the pack, as he was named the next principal of Bioscience High School for this year. Please join the board in celebrating the 2025 Administrator of the Year, Ulysses Aragon.
Thank you so much. Our next award is for our Educational Support Professional of the Year. It is my honor to recognize this year's ESP of the Year honoree, who is described as a beacon of warmth, positivity, and school spirit. Whether cheering at sporting events, dancing with students, or simply being present, this individual radiates joy and encouragement. From the moment students arrive on campus, they're greeted with creative coffee drinks, a welcoming smile, and a sense of belonging that sets the tone for the day. Their commitment goes far beyond the everyday. Each winter break, they lead in a heartfelt charity event that brings together the community to support students in need with meals, gifts, and moments of dignity and celebration. Their energy, compassion, and pride in their school make them not just a staff member, but a cornerstone of the campus culture. Please join us in celebrating 2025 ESP of the Year, Cynthia Barragan. Board Member Meyer.
To round out the recognitions of our Employees of the Year, it is my honor to celebrate this year's Certified Employee of the Year. This person has become synonymous with transformation, compassion, and unwavering dedication. Known for creating a welcoming environment and building deep connections with students, this educator has helped shape not only academic success, but personal growth and leadership across campus. Their ability to notice when something's off, offer support, and inspire change has made them a trusted figure and role model for countless students. From tutoring and mentoring to leading student government with unmatched energy and care, their impact is felt in every hallway and every heart at Maryville. As one student put it, he's not just a teacher, he's that teacher. Please join us in celebrating the 2025 Certified Employee of the Year from Maryville High School, Mr. Jesse Hoover.
Board Member Cross, you got the next two.
Juan Viveros is the first Skills USA National Medalist in over 25 years, and the first in the Metro Tech history. Juan is attending this evening with his teacher, Skills USA sponsor, Kevin Coe. Last semester, Juan competed in the Internet of Things Smart Home category, where he won the state competition and won a medal at nationals. The competition revolves around hands-on demonstrations of the installation of smart home residential products, including bulbs, thermostats, locks, alarms, sensors, cameras, speakers, and much more. Including the competition, Juan had to construct various interconnecting cables and high voltage residential wiring. He was also asked to configure and secure networks, update firmware, and configure operating systems. We want to congratulate Juan Viveros from Metro Tech High School for being the first Phoenix student in over 25 years to medal at the Skills USA National Competition. Congratulations. Oh, another one?
Board Member Cross, one more.
Okay. As you know, the governing board is committed to student growth and achievement. We are excited to celebrate the academic success of two of our schools this evening. I'm honored tonight to celebrate student academic excellence as we acknowledge the small school winner of the 2025 Phoenix Union Academic Achievement Award. This small school bonus boasts a 100% graduation rate and received a max score on College and Career Readiness Index, which is used to calculate the campus letter grade. As an A-rated school, this campus increased their post-secondary enrollment to 76%, up from 64 last year. Their students also saw an 11.88 increase in points for their RIT scores. This school model academic innovation of interdisciplinary approach to teaching their students all subjects through the lens of technology and innovation. Join us as we congratulate Phoenix Coding Academy for the winning the Small School Academic Achievement Award of 2025. Congratulations.
Board Member Kota.
As a large school academic achievement, I'm very proud to share with you all the recognition of our Large School Academic Achievement Award. This campus is no stranger to this award. In 2024 boasts the lowest dropout rate among all comprehensive campuses at 3.06%. The 9% growth in College and Career Readiness Index for the past 3 years is outstanding, and their ACT math and reading average of 16 for both junior and seniors is tied for the top average in the district. This campus showed an increase in freshman on-track rate each of the past 3 years, culminating with 75% in 2024. Not only does this school shine when it comes to the raw data, but they are also the district's gold standard for the academic decathlon. For the second year in a row, join us in congratulating Cesar Chavez High School for earning the Large School Academic Achievement Award.
Skills USA National
Thank you. 3A, next item, reports from employee organizations. Our representatives reporting tonight are Mr. Esteban Flemons, CTA President, Ms. Anastasia Jimenez, CEA President, and Mrs. Vanessa Casillas, ADA President. Mr. Flemons.
All right. Good evening, President Napa, Superintendent Andrade, governing board members, community, and staff in attendance here and virtually. My name is Esteban Flemons, and I'm the PXU CTA President. I stand before you representing our 1,000 certified educators here in PXU that are members. Yes, and I am happy to be here, beginning my second term as president, and looking forward to working with all of you for the next 2 years. This summer has been filled with work at all levels, getting ready for the 25-26 school year. From our summer school programs to curriculum work to professional development and conferences our members have attended. CTA was involved and engaged in work to support our students and help educators this summer. We had CTA members attend our National Education, our NEA conference in Portland, Oregon. We also had additional members travel to Louisiana to help union grow through membership drives and signups. CTA has been out and doing the work, and our members are getting more and more engaged. And they know that it will be on our feet and with our words at our community and with our community that we will make a difference in the upcoming elections at all levels. Our recent updates to the professional agreement and documents have gone well with us in addition to creating systems that will enable our unit chairs and campus representatives to work with administration to create a more harmonious and beneficial situation on our campuses. We know that when certified, classified, and leadership all sit at the table with equal voices, we get a lot more done together. So I want to thank our district leadership to providing those opportunities and spaces for myself at Admin Academy, as well as to speak with our new teachers at our new employee event when the year began. As I prepared for today's meeting, I'm excited to explore the possibilities that 25-26 holds and the opportunities that can arise through some of the challenges we know we're going to face. You never know how strong your resolve is until it's challenged. You don't know how much you can do until you're forced to do it. And you don't know who will show up to do the work until the work really needs to be done. So this year, we recognize the challenges with our bond and override, our enrollment, and whatever else the universe may throw at us. We will be engaged, our members will be engaged more than ever, and we want to provide space to involve them in the district and within the community. So we're looking forward to partnership with all stakeholders to help PXU excel as we move forward. The work that CTA and the unions do is never done. We will continue to work to do what's best for our kids and our staff. I am lucky to have two other strong union leaders with Vanessa Casillas in ADA and Anastasia Jimenez with CEA to share this space and to speak with you and the board on the behalf of the community and our members. I hope we can continue to engage in dialogue and move PXU forward in the coming weeks and months. If you ever have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me for a coffee and a chat. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening, and let's get the meeting going.
Thank you. Ms. Anastasia Jimenez, CEA President.
All right, good evening, everyone, and hello, Ms. Meyer. I did get your email, don't worry, we'll connect soon. So, but good evening, Superintendent Andrade, governing board members, PXU leadership, staff, students, and our union siblings from CTA and ADA. And to our community members, allies, and educational support professionals here tonight, thank you for being here and welcome back. As always, thank you for giving our associations the time and space to engage with you all. I have a few talking points this evening, but I did want to start with by recognizing our newest CEA officer, Mr. Carlos Mendoza from Trevor Brown. I'm excited about this latest addition to our officer team as we are preparing for a challenging year and perhaps several to come. Mr. Mendoza brings fresh energy, creativity, and determination to the team, in which I'm eager to support him with this new role. He is now taking on the role of our treasurer, so you can anticipate meeting him soon as he makes his transition. And to our newly elected reps for the 25-26 school year, welcome and thank you for stepping up and leaning into your new leadership roles. Next, I'd like to highlight the work of our educational support professionals as their efforts continue throughout the summer at PXU and extend into the new year. Many of our ESPs district-wide, and perhaps because I'm in the building now, I can see the immense pressure that they are facing. They are working hard to ensure our schools are prepared for the start of the school year and that staffing is in place for the upcoming year. Many of our clerical staff are being assigned additional duties. While some duties may fall within their roles, the shared model adopted by our leadership is causing some of our ESPs to feel undervalued and overworked. Mind you, with no additional pay and limitations on overtime. These feelings are compounded further when we are trying to uphold this year's PXU's theme of Stronger Together, and we continue to outsource special projects with temps as well as additions of directors and administrators. Due to the district's budget constraints, fiscal responsibilities, and legal obligations, our staff are feeling the pressure to ensure that the district activities and deadlines are met on time and with the highest level of professionalism. Thank you to our talent personnel specialists, our administrative assistants, and everyone supporting the behind-the-scenes work that keeps our district and campuses competitive, compliant, and operational. District administrators, as the school year begins, please remember to thank those who support you, as the start can bring both anxiety and excitement, especially with the rollout of our advanced weapons detection systems. A small act of kindness or gratitude can speak volumes to your ESPs. We know we cannot do the work of a campus or a district alone, and neither can you. We are stronger together and appreciate the vital role you all play in the success of our students and staff. So thank you to our administrators for showing the value that our ESPs bring to their campuses, especially during this time. Regarding staffing, we know student enrollment is down, and unfortunately it is expected to continue to decline. We know cuts will be made and all areas of our district's operations will be reviewed. However, please remember us. Remember to ask questions, lead with curiosity, because I know we can be innovative together as we support PXU. Remember to uphold the integrity of our binding governing board approved professional agreement across all employee groups. And then the last item I'd like to highlight is the Classified Induction Experience, aka CLI. This event, which was held at Carl Hayden High School, thank you Carl Hayden, on Friday, July 25th, was an opportunity to welcome our new classified staff, give a great first impression, and help them integrate into our district. I'll be honest, unfortunately, it was less attended than anticipated and expected. The sentiment was that this opportunity was optional and therefore wasn't encouraged by their campus or site leaders to take on this unique event. For certified, it was framed as mandatory, but where was the same push and encouragement for our ESPs? I am hopeful this will change because we are constantly refining what these events look like, and especially with some of these budget additions, constraints, limitations, we're looking to be a bit more creative. But it would help for our leaders to really encourage our staff to go and take that opportunity to network with other classified folks, because many of them don't have that opportunity to connect with people across the district. And so that's my last point there is I hope things will change. I know they will change. And so I'll leave you with that. But thank you all for having us tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Vanessa Casillas.
Good evening, Superintendent Andrade, President Napa, and esteemed members of the Governing Board. My name is Vanessa Casillas, and I'm proud to serve as the President of the Administrators Association. As we kick off this new school year, I want to recognize the incredible teamwork it takes to open our campuses and keep them running smoothly. From our teachers and classified staff to our administrators, safety teams, custodians, and community partners, every single person plays a critical role in creating a safe, welcoming, and supportive environment for our students and families. This work is not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes planning, collaboration, and a shared commitment to excellence. On behalf of the ADA, I want to thank you for your continued support and partnership. Together, we are ensuring that every school day starts strong and that every student has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is for a call to the public. Can we please play the audio?
According to ARS 38-431.01H, at the conclusion of the call to the public, members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who address the public body, may ask the staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members may not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. We would like to caution members of the audience about commenting on a particular individual and thank you for not referring to any person by name. In order to avoid any concerns with interpretation services, please be aware of the following. We have a Spanish interpreter available to join you at the podium while you address the governing board. Only the PXU assigned interpreter will provide interpretation services. If you have a script on paper or on a device, we ask that you make it available for the interpreter. In order to provide accurate interpreting, we ask that you speak for approximately 2 to 3 sentences at a time and pause for interpreting. You will be given double the amount of time to address the governing board as a result. As usual, we ask that you end your comments when your official time allotment has ended.
Para evitar dificultades con los servicios de intérprete, tenga en cuenta lo siguiente. Tenemos un intérprete de español disponible para acompañarlo mientras se dirige a la mesa directiva. Solo el intérprete asignado por el distrito proveerá servicios de interpretación. Si tiene su mensaje en papel o electrónicamente, le pedimos que lo ponga a disposición del intérprete. Para brindar una interpretación precisa, le pedimos que hable aproximadamente de 2 a 3 oraciones a la vez y haga una pausa para el intérprete. Como resultado, se le dará el doble del tiempo para dirigirse a la mesa directiva. Como de costumbre, le pedimos que finalice sus comentarios cuando termine su tiempo asignado. Gracias por su cooperación.
Good evening. Presentations tonight are limited to a maximum of 2 minutes. Tonight, we did have the option for members of the public to participate in person or virtually. We do not have any registered online, so we'll go ahead and go with our in-person speakers. We will call on those who requested to speak in person. Please state your name, indicate the agenda item or topic you wish to speak about, and limit your presentation to 2 minutes. Our first speaker is Xavier Garcia, followed by Matthew Acosta.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here speaking on the behalf of Coach Mejia. I'm here to talk about, I came into high school. I started playing for Coach Mejia. I've been here 4 years. You learn a lot from a man, and even when he's your coach. These 4 years of high school have been hard, and I don't have the best circumstances, but I learned a lot from Mejia, and he's a great man. Like, I'll do a lot for him, and a lot of things go unnoticed, and everyone makes their mistakes, but I know that what he does for us and what he has done behind doors for us, he's a great man, he's a great coach. He wants the best for us, and yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew Acosta, followed by Nidra Shepherd.
My name is Matthew Acosta. I will be speaking for my coach, about my coach. Mia is a man of passion and support. He has always wanted the best for the kids at North High School. He is a great part of the community at North. He has always been there for the community. And seeing the man I see as my head coach lose access to the game he loves and direct contact to the sports he loves hurts to see. Mejia, for me, has always been that coach that loves the game with passion in ways that I couldn't comprehend. But hopefully one day I will understand his passion. He has been the mantle of North High School football, and at the lowest and certainly at the highest. He's ran conditioning with us, and in his own words, physical things that a person his age shouldn't be doing anymore. He showed that he loves the game, and he loves to see us grow as people. He has for me been a huge part on why I look more highly on myself, for the hard work I have and will put in his football program and other parts of school and life. Even when I wasn't doing well mentally, he showed it's okay to fall, but it isn't okay to stay down. All I want now is the same as he wanted for me and other students, the best. And all I wish at this moment is for him to have access to the game he loves, coaching. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nidra Shepherd, followed by Tatiana Pena.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board President, Clerk Oliver, Board members, staff, and community. I'm here to talk about communication and transparency. I hope everyone had a good summer and came back with an open mind to uphold the unwritten word to do no harm as it applies to our students and teachers. On the April board meeting, I began with "Do I care?" with several issues facing our profession, and ended with "I have one job to make sure that I give the best education to the most students without bias, prejudice, family connection, or otherwise. Doing my job, to me, means me starting with my, wait for it, boots on the ground. That is the first day school is setting up the foundation for the success of the entire year. Now, I don't want to work anywhere where I'm not wanted. It was mentioned by the scores, we have failed our students. In allowing anything less than our best would not help the students be successful in this day and age, especially when public schools are under attack. Some of this generation of teachers and admin are not the same. I am experiencing a generational conflict. They don't dress the same, they don't set the same limits, but that's not to say that we will not get the job done. just probably with different expectations and outcomes. I can only hope and have faith that this board will consider hiring admin, teachers, staff with an open mind that their first contact is to do no harm to students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Tatiana Pena, followed by Cindy Wright.
Good evening, board members, executive team, and the community. My name is Tatiana Pena. I'm here on behalf of myself as a community advocate. I'm actually from South Phoenix. And I came today because we are starting a brand new school year here in Phoenix Union. And I know that there is very much a desire from a lot of community members, a lot of parents, a lot of students, and even teachers that I've spoken to in the past years, their concerns for safety in Phoenix Union, the concerns that there are no SROs at the campuses. This has an impact on the learning for the students. If a student doesn't feel safe in their classroom, then they can't concentrate and they can't learn. And we want these children to be successful in their learning. This has an impact on the teachers. If the teachers don't feel safe in their classrooms, how are they supposed to function? How are they supposed to be effective as teachers? And so another thing is there has been an attitude where we're raising students to hate law enforcement when law enforcement are there for the right reasons most of the time. We want kids to be law enforcement themselves. So we have a new year ahead of us here. We have opportunities for policy change. And I encourage every one of you to look inside your hearts and understand that the community wants safety in their schools. They want SROs. I didn't expect to share this part here, but I did notice that when board member Jeremiah Cota, when he went up there and he shared what he did, that was coming from a place of sincerity, a place of something that was very personal to him as a member of his tribe. And the reaction that he received was actually very insulting. For him to be an actual tribal member and to be shut down because he was expressing something before that land statement, that was insulting. And so I hope that you guys can apologize and maybe consider a change next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Cindy Reich. After that, Mark Megra.
Good evening, President of the Board, board members, administrative staff, and community. I really want to congratulate really all the staff that has done such a great job for all of the students and the parents that have been members of your community. And I really would like to share the topic of SROs on your campuses. Previously being assigned your cases, a couple of years ago for Phoenix Union, I would love to share with you that there is definitely room for improvement in the communications and relationships that the staff members have with law enforcement. And this is feedback that I received from many parents. I do want to express the gratitude that I do have for your security guards. I think we don't thank them enough. They do a really good job. But it was really nice to come to this building today for this meeting and go through a security system. So thank you for thinking about safety, and I'm hoping that you all can extend that onto your campuses, and that way parents and children feel safe likewise. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Megra, followed by Miguel Rigado.
Good evening. I assume that was Mark Mejia. So
I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. Probably my penmanship.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Mejia. I'm the former head football and track coach at North High School, and I'm actually here to address my dismissal. More importantly, the inconsistencies with discipline with coaches throughout the district. The emphasis for PXU this year has been knowing the why behind the what. And that's exactly what I'm here for, trying to figure that out. I'm Phoenix Union through and through. Graduate, born and bred, generations, proud member. The second longest tenured football coach in this district, longest tenured football coach at North High School in the last 30 plus years. I've poured my heart and soul into this program, into this district, and given it my all, creating more opportunities for, to anyone in the district, giving our kids chances to attend football camps, tournaments, golf tournaments that we've provided to raise money, over $30,000 for those kids, and more importantly, 20 plus kids moving on to college who have been encouraged by that. How can someone who has given 23 years of his life to coaching and doing what's best for kids and 0 incidents on his record be suspended for 5 years from coaching for his first incident where no one was injured? These penalties come from a place not knowing the individual. I take full responsibility and accountability for everything that's happened and how I handled that process. I've learned a great deal from it, and I will be better for it as a coach. I can promise you that. As I tell my kids, though, there will always be consequences for your actions, but those consequences will not define you. It's how you respond to those that demonstrate your true character. This incident will not define me as a coach, but this district will be defined by how they respond to it. I hope you take this into consideration and allow me to continue to serve this district and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. And apologies for mispronouncing your name. Let's have Miguel Regalado, followed by Fernando Sanchez.
Hello, my name is Miguel Dieter Regalado. Thank you for listening to me. I am a product of Carl Hayden High School, product of, I hear you, bro. A product of Phoenix College, being in inner city in the Phoenix Metro, what it was called before. We totally understand what it's like to be in the culture, to get out of it, how to survive in that culture. Coach Mejia, I've known him, I've had a brotherhood with him for 30 plus years. This gentleman has taught me a lot, as much as I've taught him. But what we've taught is how to get out of the community, how to strive, how to be a leader, how to do the things necessary in order to better structure your life. North was not an opportunity, it was not a job, it's a calling. And Coach Mejia answered the call, and by God's grace, I moved on with him. We've been there for 6 years, we've changed lives, we've mentored, we've done everything we possibly could to help everybody in the district, actually in North High School. So this egregious suspension doesn't fit the infraction. The only infraction that Coach Mark Mejia has, and he's guilty of, is loving the kids too much and sacrificing too much for the better good of those kids. I'm just asking you guys that you take it into your hearts to review it and give our kids a future and a hope. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is going to be Fernando Sanchez.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. It's the start of a new year. Hope you're ready for another round. Today, I just wanted to kind of bring something up that I noticed from the June meeting, and it's over your superintendent's report. So in the previous years, in the previous year, for the June meeting, under you know how like every month there's like recognitions. We had like Mental Health Awareness Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. Well, for the June meeting, the Pride slide was gone. In the previous year, it was included, and then last June, it was taken out. So I'm just up here hoping that that slide can make its way back, because if you remember, Dr. Whitaker was here a couple years ago, and he kind of informed all of us and made it very clear that not all spaces are safe spaces within this district, and I noticed that the slide was gone, so I was kind of hoping that it can make its way back. Outside of that, I kind of want to end my share with a little bit of gratitude in saying happy birthday to Ms. Nitra Shepard. I hope you enjoy your special day, and I celebrate you today and every day, and thank you for never being shy with your joy. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Ms. Shepard. That concludes tonight's call to the public.
We're going to take a 5-minute break between...
Madam President, may I respond to the comments? I do have 2 items. So I do think we've heard from several community members about the need for school resource officers. And again, I will just ask that we take that into consideration in a future board meeting. I also would like to state to the North High community that I do believe we need to put on the agenda possible reinstatement for the coach, Mia. I don't see, there's definitely a clear outpouring of support, and I would like us to at least consider that in a future agenda item. Thank you.
Any other? I just want to respond to Mr. Fernandez. Thank you for speaking up. I didn't notice that the pride slide was gone. Sanchez, thank you. I'm sorry. Really strive to make sure that PXU is a safe space for all students. Really do enjoy going to the LGBT Student Summit, and I'm really proud of PXU for creating that space for our students. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. All right, 5 minutes. We are coming back. We are coming back, and I think we have everyone here. Yes. Next item is 5A. Approval of the consent agenda. We need some order, please. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented?
So moved.
A motion to approve the consent agenda as presented has been made by Clerk Oliver. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Board Member Cross. Any discussion? Okay. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carries.
Call for roll call.
No. Moving on. The next item is 6A, Superintendent's Report. Ms. Andrade, please provide your superintendent's...
Appeal the decision of the chair.
No. Ms. Andrade, please provide your report at this time.
Okay, good evening, President Napa, members of the board, and our Phoenix Union community. As I begin the report this evening, I'm excited to help create a little bit of context about what happened over the summer to get us in a great place to be able to start the school year. So let's begin with summer school.
Madam President, motion to adjourn.
Denied.
As you know, summer school plays a crucial role in the lives of so many of our students. In fact, over 5,000 students selected from over 153 course offerings, earning nearly 3,500 credits during summer school. We're so excited that an additional 1,273 incoming ninth graders also participated in our freshman lunch program, getting a head start on elective credit and a little bit more about high school. The success of our summer program offerings brings me to a milestone of the summer graduation. I was grateful to be joined by President Napa, Clerk Oliver, and Member Pastor Rivera to celebrate our amazing summer grads. The students who graduate in the summer are some of the most resilient students you'll ever meet. I'm proud to share that 133 of our incredible scholars graduated over the summer. It was emotional. It was wonderful to see the pride on their faces, on the faces of their family, and for all that showed up to support these students in this one-of-a-kind event. As our students finished classes and graduated during the summer, our staff got to work. Our employees had a packed summer of training and workshops to prepare for the new year. Out of I would say a list of at least 13 different trainings. I'm only going to talk about 3 this evening: our Admin Academy, our Certified Induction, and our Classified Induction. These opportunities allow our staff to come together to level set around the work ahead. We discuss our board goals, student achievement, public education, and so much more. Phoenix Union is unique in offering certified induction and classified induction for all new employees to welcome them to the district, to learn about our values, and to set them up for success. I want to give a special shout out to Siobhan Wagner, Dr. Wagner and her team, who really carry so much of ensuring this day is successful for all our new employees. As our students entered summer, there were many opportunities for our students to get involved. And one incredible experience I want to lift up is the Anytown Summer Leadership Camp, where 19 students from Alhambra, Camelback, Metro, and Trevor Brown High School traveled up to Prescott, got out of the heat for a little bit, to participate with other students from across Arizona's high schools in a camp that promises really experiential learning activities, dialogue sessions, creates a sense of community based on inclusion, trust, and mutual respect. Students who participate also gain leadership and advocacy skills, and bonus, they get a certificate of 50 hours in leadership training service. So I'm really proud of these students that participated and were able to attend, and I hope to have an even larger group next year from Phoenix Union. While some of our students participated in Anytown, 14 students from Maryville GTA program traveled to Washington, D.C. for an unforgettable experience, attending the 4th annual Civics Matter field trip. These scholars traveled with their amazing instructor, Miss Anne Marie Shanahan, to explore the nation's capital and bring a deeper understanding of just how important civic engagement is. I want to thank the Arizona Cardinals, Governor Katie Hobbs, and the Close Up Foundation for sponsoring this trip, which included air travel on the Cardinals' private team jet. I'm going to need to get with Ms. Shanahan so I can sign up to be a chaperone next year. Okay. In addition to the camps and other trips, some of our students took advantage of employment opportunities within the district. Each summer, our tech team hires student workers to assist with various summer jobs that help them prepare for the new school year. This summer, 20 Phoenix Union students worked in repurposing laptops, updating scripts, reimaged devices, and repaired devices while receiving $16 an hour. These opportunities were so important for our students to have a hands-on experience and some extra cash over the summer. While some students were working and some were attending camps and other trips, our athletes continued to make progress in the sport of their choice. Phoenix Union athletes participated in clinics, 7-on-7 leagues, volleyball summer workouts, out-of-state travel for basketball, baseball, softball, and so much more. And as you know, fall sports begins very soon with football, flag football, volleyball, cross-country, swimming, dive, golf, and spirit line. We can't wait to watch our students athletes succeed in the classroom and on the field. Keeping with summer experiences for our students, I do want to congratulate Miss Carolina Alonso for our social worker at Phoenix Digital Academy for being recognized as the by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Miss Alonso was chosen by the D-backs to coach the MLB RBI All-Star team in Seattle in late July. All-stars from across the state include several representing Phoenix Union, participating on boys and girls national teams. Student athletes from Alhambra, Hayden, Chavez, Maryville, South, and Trevor all competed and are currently in the championship rounds. I look forward to sharing an update on the outcome and congratulate all involved. I think the word on the street tonight was that the boys won in the 14th inning, going undefeated and continuing to play on. I think they beat a team from Atlanta. So Arizona is definitely representing, and it looks like the girls will begin their route to the championship on August 11th in Florida. So proud of these students that are representing not just Phoenix Union, but Arizona as a whole. I wish the state and our district all the luck. As you know, working to the work of supporting our community never really stops. And on July 26th, I had the opportunity to see our launch of School Community Resource Fair hosted by our Student and Family Services Division. It was free to all families in our community. This event took place at Central High School. It was phenomenal. It included dental, health screenings, sports physicals, saw a bunch of kids getting their hair cut, school supplies were being given away. I literally walked by a booth where a lady was trying to get me to adopt a dog from the Humane Society. I said, no, I already have 2. But again, this place was packed with people from the city, from all over, people looking to hire high school students all the way through. You name it, it was packed. I just want to thank everyone that partnered. I want to give a special shout out to Student and Family Services, Ms. Alyssa Tarkington, Ms. Cindy Tercero, for making that event so successful and fun. And I believe President Napa was there as well. So big shout out to everyone for making that a success. All right, convocation. The kickoff for each school year is our convocation, where we welcome all our staff from all our job families back, and we get together to get excited for that next school year. I want to thank President Napa for her incredible words of hope and excitement for the new year, along with Board Member Cross and Board Member Meyer for attending this year. And I want to congratulate our campus winners for all their hard work and dedication. In addition to the recognitions and accomplishments that you saw tonight, we also honored several teams that came together in big ways. A Culture and Climate Award, a Collaborative Team Award, and I want to congratulate everyone who was awarded that. I also want to give a special shout out to the coveted Spirit Stick Award given to Betty Fairfax and the Phoenix Code Academy. That seems to be the most competitive award. Okay, now let's transition to some staff awards to finish my first report of the year, beginning with Miss Yadira Lopez from Carl Hayden High School for earning the 2025 Arizona Educator Secondary Transition Service Award. This recognition comes from the Arizona Department of Education, and it's presented to each year to only 2 educators statewide who make outstanding contributions and provide exemplary transition-related services for Arizona students with disabilities. I mean, only 2 across the whole state. I want to share a heartfelt congratulations and thank Ms. Lopez personally for her dedicated service to some of our most vulnerable students. Good job, yep. I'm going to end my report this evening with a heartfelt congratulations to 6 employees who are on the consent agenda this evening for beginning new roles within the district where they see a jump to a new job classification. We always want to celebrate that. The first 3 are members of our certified ranks who now advance to administrative positions. I think that we're congratulating them. They may regret it. I don't know. First off is Mr. Francisco Contreras, who was promoted to the Assistant Principal for Student Connectedness at North High School after leaving a classroom as a teacher at Maryville last year. Next is Ms. Kendall Detleff, who transitioned from the Ed Mentor to Assistant Principal for Achievement, also at North. And finally, Mr. Derek Martin, who served as the Student Success Coach last year. He's transitioned to Assistant Principal for Success at Trevor Brown. And now for those who went from classified to certified, let's begin with Mr. Yuri Cipriano, who transitioned from ELL Instructional Assistant to ESS Inclusion Teacher at Maryville. In that same tradition, we have Miss Jenny Jacob, who also transitioned from an ELL Instructional Assistant to an ELL Teacher at Alhambra. And finally, you'll see the theme here, Mr. Francisco Madrid, who also transitioned from an ELL Instructional Assistant to an ELL Teacher at Trevor Brown. Congratulations to our staff who made the jump to a new classification. I myself started as an ESP, so that is near and dear to me. I hope everyone out there who is currently working on certification of any kind keeps it up. You have so many stories of us working our way up the system in education. Keep it up and let us know how we can help. If you're continuing on a path right now but not quite finished, please continue. We're your biggest cheerleaders because we're really stronger together. But in Phoenix Union, we do take a special pride in growing our own. And with that, I will hand it back over to you, President Napa.
Thank you. Next item is 7A, 2025 to 26 launch of schools. I'll hand it back to you, Ms. Andrade.
All right. Good evening, President Napa, members of the community. Tonight, we will be sharing and highlighting the preparation efforts, work completed, and progress that we made all around the launch of schools. While some of these highlights are operational in nature, they are the necessary component to ensure high levels of learning in the classroom. Tonight, you'll be hearing from each of our chief officers with key updates in the areas of enrollment, talent, facilities, safety, transportation, and of course, student achievement. So why don't I kick us off? Let's jump in with some enrollment updates. As you know, enrollment drives our funding. What you see here is a 3-year trend with student enrollment in red and our staffing enrollment or employees in black. The 2 lines obviously must correlate. Our student enrollment compared to this time last year is down about 1,200 students and 1,700 from just 2 years ago. Our staffing is 187 employees fewer than 2 years ago. And while enrollment is down across several schools, it is certainly not equal in all areas of our footprint. For example, Cesar Chavez and academies at South Mountain have enrollments that are higher than last year. Yet communities in the central region of our district, such as Alhambra and Central, have 200 students less than last year. And again, those are reflections of what's happening in the community. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at enrollment by grade level. You can see that we've maintained approximately the same number of seniors, technically 18 more this year, every student counts, than the previous year. But unfortunately, that really isn't the case with our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade cohorts. While our enrollment will continue to climb in the coming weeks as we approach our high point, it will be critical this year more than ever that we retain the students that we do have and not allow enrollment to drop further as the year progresses. We tend to come up to the high point and then it's nothing but downhill after that. And that's where we lose. If we could just keep somewhat of a steady line from the high point, we wouldn't have as much of a financial impact to that. We know that we know that our comprehensive campuses aren't going to be a perfect fit for every student. Some are probably really overwhelmed right now with the size, the classes, the number of students. And I just want to put it out there on public record that many of our small schools still do have space. We are a portfolio, so our digital academy can be made to have space as well. And we need to continue to offer our families choices in this choice-rich environment and options within our own portfolio for success before simply allowing them or having them just withdraw and go elsewhere. So campus culture and climate, safety, connectedness, and supportive environments are going to be more important now than ever. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to look at our numbers in talent.
Good evening, President Napa, members of the board. This slide provides a little bit greater detail for the current number of staff that we have within each employee group. You can see there's also a comparison to last year. These numbers, as you may well know, are very fluid. They change every day as we continue to fill vacancies. As you can see, we did launch school with needs in both certified and education support professionals. They're in the typical hard-to-fill positions. So for teachers, we always struggle finding ESS, math, science, educators, and for ESPs, cafeteria workers, instructional assistants, and bus drivers. So some of these positions in both areas we fill using contracted services, and of course, we use our substitute pool for teaching vacancies. Both district and campus teams are working diligently to conduct interviews and fill as many positions as we can.
President Napa, members of the board and community, before sharing construction updates, as a reminder, construction projects are paid using bond funds. Bond funds are made available thanks to the support of taxpayers who have authorized funding for capital expenditures that include renovations, technology, safety, and furniture and equipment. MetroTech, one of the major projects we have right now is the MetroTech renovation, and I know for all of you at MetroTech the inconvenience that it may be causing, but we do thank you for all your patience and support as we're going through this process. So the renovation project is underway and entering its construction phase with the expected completion of the west side buildings by March 2026. Aside from renovation of classroom space and performing arts, the school will have a new gym and north fields with an anticipated completion date of August 2026. Again, we want to thank you very much for any inconvenience that's causing and for your patience during this time. Another major construction project is the much-needed CEE parking structure, which is currently in the final planning phase, awaiting permit approvals, with an expected start date of December 2025 and expected completion date in September 2026. I say expected because we all know that construction projects sometimes go a little longer. Next, we are excited to announce the opening of our North and Bostrom outdoor eating space, seen on the left and center of the screen. These spaces provide students with culinary options based on student and community interest. Students are surveyed and choose new menu items and culinary themes, making these spaces dynamic. On the right side is a rendering of the Chavez outdoor eating space, which is in the planning phase. These eating spaces allow schools to serve students more efficiently and based on student interest, and were developed through parent, student, and community feedback. Next on the list, or coming soon, will be Carl Hayden. This slide demonstrates the Trevor Brown remodel, which the team worked extremely hard to complete before the launch of school, literally the day before almost. This remodel meets the needs of the school's academies. The building serves as a new entrance for the school and includes classrooms that house CTE programs such as engineering, networking, artificial intelligence, and sports medicine. Additionally, the existing library is being renovated and repurposed into a modern student union, which is an inviting multi-use space where students can gather, collaborate, and enjoy meals. I'd like to thank you all at Trevor Brown again for all your patience throughout the construction project.
Many people have spoken about all the work that happens over the summer all areas of operations, technology, logistics. Laptops are refreshed, systems are updated, work orders completed to provide the best spaces and services we can for our students and staff. In addition to the large construction and renovation projects Dr. D'Alba shared, our regular physical safety improvements were also completed. These are things like the alarm systems, cameras, voice intercom, AV, community signage. As a result of our annual facility safety walks and safety audits this spring, we also prioritized lists of campus improvements to continue to harden our perimeters, control access and entry points, and enhance communication systems. You see permanent shade structures that were put up to assist with our AWDS rollout. Fairfax has a brand new secured entry. Chavez and Camelback received some perimeter fencing, and those projects to support the infrastructure will continue. Those improvements with the infrastructure for safety are just part of our multi-layered approach to school safety on our campuses. AWDS, safety grant, SROs, and SSOs are others. However, as you know, campus culture and climate serve as a foundation for safe schools. Strong student engagement, robust support and wraparound services, social emotional supports, as well as student safety campaigns such as See Something, Say Something, are also critical facets of a safe school environment. Additionally, we have to have strong support, sound training, and practice. This summer, as you have heard, we provided training to all staff. We continue to deploy district safety teams, supervisors, and directors to campuses to support the work of the site teams. And we're prioritizing building strong relationships, use of our de-escalation strategies, consistency in process and procedures, as well as emergency preparedness and response. As we standardize and practice our safety procedures, it's imperative that we focus on the planning, particularly for our special populations, for transportation, and not just for the school day, but also for athletics and special events. We have improved training and standards for practice. This year, we created a PowerPoint for both students and employees to be shared during advisory with kids and during onboarding for all of our staff, to include our substitute teachers. The training reviews our emergency response plans, procedures, and we have systematized and aligned all of those to make sure that we're using the same language. So our V-Alert systems that you can see scrolling in the classrooms match what we say when we do an all-call. And you can see an example of the posters that we have created for every classroom and common student assembly areas. Now, I know it's a little hard to read because it's super small font, because these are going to be in poster size, but it will, it delineates each of the calls. So a lockdown, on the very left, it tells students and staff what they will hear. So for example, lockdown, an announcement will be repeated 3 times. Attention, staff and students, the campus is on lockdown. And then the column directly after that are the specific steps for teachers and staff to follow, and to the right of that, specific steps for students in each one of those situations. So that is very important for them to have it visible, accessible, and to hear and see the same procedures when we have an emergency. Moving on from safety and security, I wanted to share just a brief overview of our launch of school related to transportation services. Like talent, this information is very fluid. It changes daily in response to additional requests for transportation and any new enrollments. We are definitely not alone in our struggle to find bus drivers, and we have operated in a shortage for the past several years. Almost on any given day throughout the year, you will find our 2 transportation directors, our manager, and sometimes our dispatcher driving buses. In partnership with CEA, we continue to seek innovative ways to fill the driver positions and recruit more interest. You can see we have a fleet of 80 PXU buses, all of which are not used due to a lack of drivers. We have to rely on contracted services to not only fill the gap in talent and also servicing those routes. So far this year, we're transporting over 1,400 students. Close to 1,300 of those attend Chavez and Fairfax. Our leaders in transportation proactively participated in parent meetings at those schools a few weeks ago to hear feedback, answer questions, provide information, and help parents enroll for the parent app through Traversa. This app allows parents to see in real time the bus location, see the route and stop information, as well as the estimated time of arrival for the bus. We're trying to tighten up as best we can the arrival times to make sure a larger percent are arriving within those 30 minutes before the bell, so students have an opportunity to get settled, eat breakfast, and they're not rushing to first period. I will say the first few days had their ups and downs. Some parts seemed much smoother than last. Today we experienced multiple breakdowns due to some heat issues, but I really want to commend the transportation team and everyone else who has pitched in to do the work, to outreach, and do whatever it takes to get our students to school so that learning can happen.
Well, thank you, Dr. Allen. Now that we've shared about all of the hard work that goes into preparing for the launch of school, let's talk about what our students and staff have been doing over the last few weeks. Freshman Success is a system that is anchored in intentional strategies that provide multiple opportunities to wrap around supports and services for our ninth graders as they embark on their high school and career. So what's included in that? Well, our freshman orientations began in mid-July and just ran through this last Saturday at every Phoenix Union site that has freshmen. We have upperclassmen who are members of Link Crew, like the ones you see on the screen with Chavez in pink and Camelback in green, who serve as supports for those freshmen for the go-to questions, as well as helping finding classes and reminders to wear their IDs. Orientations have a fun vibe with music and games and include things like introductions to the admin teams, their freshman house coordinators. They get to find out what clubs and sports and activities are available. There are campus tours that assist with wayfinding, and they also have opportunities to pick up laptops, IDs, and schedules. You can see the first day bell schedule sample on the screen. Freshmen have the opportunity to come to campus, and the upperclassmen come a little bit later in the day. And during that morning session, they have rally and assemblies, lots of music, fun activities. They learn chants, cheers. They help build school spirit. The Link Crews are there to be able to work with the freshmen both in large groups and small groups, and they offer a variety of team building activities. Some campuses even host scavenger hunts so that the freshmen learn to find key locations like cafeterias and bathrooms on the campus. Now, board, you might have heard us talk about the freshman houses or the freshman academies, and you might wonder what those are. Well, simply stated, they are teams of teachers who share common students, and the design is intentionally done so that it has each group teachers has time to discuss the students' data, plan interventions, as well as celebrations for their kiddos. So what are the supports and results that we're getting for this level of support our freshman year? Well, we measure this in terms of credit currency, or whether the student has passed their classes and they're on track to earn their diploma within 4 years. We know that when freshman students are on track and start their sophomore year, they are much more likely to graduate on time. You can see our progress over the last 5 years. The systematic approach to student achievement also supports our enrollment. When kids feel successful, they stay in school. So a big shout out to our freshman houses for their incredible work. After falling short of meeting our chronic absenteeism goal this past year, multiple departments and Phoenix Union staff who serve in various roles met to rethink procedures and systems to align our newly revised attendance policies. Through this work, we designed an attendance guide for campuses and staff, as well as a flow chart with steps to initiate communication with families about their students' absences. Additionally, staff have been equipped with scripts that offer guidance for a variety of conversations that they can have with families. Marketing and student engagement department are collaborating to support campuses with a new campaign, Every Day Counts. Look for Attendance Awareness Month in September and lots of messaging to come around that. And speaking of communication, we have more with our families. We have a new tool called Parent Square this year. It's revolutionary, and it connects students and families. This tool offers direct messaging with parents and auto-translates into their preferred language. It also allows for two-way communication, like you can see the screenshot on the screen up here, for the teacher and the family to interact with each other. We can create our own groups. It allows for clubs, sports teams, whole classes, groups of students, or even the entire school community to receive timely, relevant, and personalized mass communication in minutes. However, staff have been preparing and planning for instruction this first week. Well, on Wednesday last week, we hosted our Organizational Growth and Development Day. This district-wide professional learning event brought together educators from across Phoenix Union to deepen our shared understanding of and commitment to a guaranteed and viable curriculum. Some highlights allowed collaborative teams to get focused on refining unit lesson plans, end-of-course assessments, and also the scales that will be used for grading this year. Updates for staff also included recent revisions to the Marks and Grading Manual supporting student-centered grading practices, as well as revised plans for success, which now include information about attendance and cell phone policy changes. Finally, they participated in ongoing work to develop and implement a balanced assessment system that uses formative and summative measures. This work reflects our shared belief that every student deserves access to a rigorous and high-quality instruction. There are a few pictures of the many trainings here, and we're so very grateful for the dedication of our teachers, content specialists, and support staff that make this day possible. Board, you may remember from our retreats and progress monitoring conversations that we use NWEA assessments to help us adjust instruction, measure academic growth, and monitor predictions for scores on ACT. NWEA is a formative assessment or for learning. Because it's for learning, this allows adjustments to teaching and interventions, and you will see our windows for administering this tool this school year. The information we receive following each window also helps contribute to the progress monitoring reports for you, our board. For example, a mid-year look at growth could be given in January based on winter assessments. Board, you might be wondering, what do we do with the data in between the testing windows? Well, our collaborative teams use the NWEA reporting tools to identify gaps in student learning, adjust instruction, and monitor growth. This is really where the science and art of teaching meet. It allows teachers to plan instruction using specific tools, lessons, and resources tailored to meet student needs. We also engage students by having them set goals and reflect on their progress using protocols that are taught in their freshman houses or their advisory periods. And finally, schools will engage family in understanding what the scores mean and provide resources and tools at home. We are also optimistic that the new cell phone policy and procedures in place in classrooms will improve student achievement by reducing distractions and giving students the opportunity to be more focused on learning. Now let's shift to the summative assessment or assessment of learning, like a final exam. Board, the goals that will be set here tonight around increasing the number of students meeting or exceeding a score of 19 on the ACT is a summative assessment. We're excited about support and tools like Exact Path, a program that's specifically tailored for high school students to build their confidence, to teach them test-taking strategies, as well as increase their familiarity with the ACT exam. We will continue to host workshops like the ones pictured on the slide at the Burton Barr Library in June, and we will continue to host boot camps that are open to all juniors. Much more about this to come in the spring as the tests get a little bit closer. And finally, this evening, board, we want to end with student connectedness. We know that when students are involved in one or more activities, sports, clubs, or groups like advisories, that they thrive. Over the next month, our sites will host club rushes at lunch where students can connect with something that they're excited about. Many of our courses offer creative outlets like dance or art where students can perform or showcase their hard work. And finally, don't forget about fall sports that will be in full swing by the end of August. Did you know that we have about 2,000 of our students that participate as fall athletes across the district? We would love to see you at one of our schools enjoying hopefully some cooler weather, badminton, football, volleyball, flag football, cross country, or golf. And with that said, we'll open it up for any questions or comments.
Thank you. That was really comprehensive. I have a question. Can we go, well, The bus driver vacancies. I saw a slide, we have 21 bus driver vacancies. Can our budget support an hourly wage increase to encourage our bus drivers to stay and also encourage applicants?
President Napa, members of the board, we have discussed, last year we actually did a campaign to try to attract and recruit more drivers. That was not as successful as we had hoped. And then we did have conversations with CEA president and members of talent and the superintendent to talk about if we were unable and this trajectory continued, if we could look at increasing the wages, the hourly wages for transportation bus drivers. And so that is something that we are open to considering and can meet and review the budget. And I think when we're looking at contracted services and how much we spend on contracted services, if we were to perhaps increase the hourly rate and attract our own PXU employees, we may actually end up saving money. I mean, we can do a cost analysis on that though.
And can you, just a personal question too, I was reading the bus driver job description. My main concern for applicants and encouraging an applicant pool is the CDL requirement. I don't know if applicants that apply have it or have the ability to get one. So how are we meeting that need to make sure that if someone wants to drive a bus, that they can, do we offer training? Do we offer 6 months, 9 months? What's going on?
We do have a driver training program for those who are interested. In fact, we even had a couple members, ESPs in CEE who are interested in driving buses. And so we do have a training program so we can get people their CDL and to pass that test if they're interested.
And President Napa, members of the board, I also think if we could get the hourly wage up enough to be competitive, we can probably attract and recruit drivers from across the state that already have their CDL.
Yes, very, very much would like that, especially when jobs are being cut across the county. How can we get that pipeline to PXU? I have some more questions. Go ahead, Board Member Meyer.
Yes, my question is along with the increase in wage, do the bus drivers, how does the comprehensive benefits, how do those look like?
So all of our employees have access to the same benefit package. So as full-time employees, they do get benefits through the district, and they also have the opportunity to add their family and dependents at a lower rate than they would have to if they were paying personally.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Cota.
Madam President, Superintendent, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate this information. I'm actually encouraged seeing some of the enrollment numbers at both Cesar Chavez and South Academies. That's actually really nice to see that we are retaining enrollment. I am concerned overall of the general trend, and I mean, I think we're all aware. We are, as you said, Superintendent, school choice rich environment. There are a lot of competing areas. But I do think we have lots of ways to grow, and I do see that we do have schools that are doing exceptionally well, and they're attracting students and they're retaining them. So I think they're great models for the rest of our district to implement. We should keep doing what's working.
Anyone else? I don't have a button, but I'd like to ask. Attendance with the implementation of the metal detectors. I drive by Central High School every morning. My daughter probably would not like me to say, but she is now a freshman there. And I was surprised to see that she got a tardy this morning, and especially considering the lines that I see prior to first period. Additionally, feedback from a community member about the parent drop-off procedure and the line and the congestion. I personally think that we should not be handing out tardies, especially in this first week. How are we tracking and how are we making sure that students who are tardy due to the metal detector, they get there in time? If the metal detector wasn't there, they could just go to class. How are we ensuring that they're not facing consequences because of that implementation?
President Napa, governing board members agreed. We had a phased rollout this week for our campuses with AWDS, lots of practice happening. And so, for example, and we also deployed, all of our staff members were out at campuses as we rolled out AWDS to help and to monitor. What we saw yesterday at some campuses that rolled out for the first time, that congestion. I was at Camelback. They did an amazing job. I think it was a late start, and when I left at about 9:20, all of the students had gone in and gone to class. So that 20-minute period, if we were watching, that congestion happened because students were getting there 1 or 2 minutes before that bell started. And I saw a great little video that Mr. Grant did too, reminding people now he has a super early start. So kids getting to school at 7:30 is early, but he did a great little pitch saying, hey guys, like when 1,000 kids show up 5 minutes before the bell, it's going to be a little congested. Let's try to get here a little earlier. So we made a point that if truly there were lines and it was a result of the kids learning the process and it was slowing down because of AWDS, to make sure that teachers were not marking students late. I saw some principals were announcing that, making all calls. I observed today at Alhambra, their first day rollout, amazing. Every student was through that gate by the bell. There was no waiting. There was a little bit of a line. We had 2 lines running, and we thought maybe 20 kids on each side, and Dr. Weber said, I'm going to time it. From the first to the last student getting through was 42 seconds. I can say from being there the entire time, the only students who were tardy today showed up after the first bell. And so principals are working with their staff to make sure. Great work, Alhambra, and I know so many campuses, they did such a great job. This week has been amazing. But they have taken care to make sure to let teachers know that do not mark students tardy as they observe AWDS is causing a line or a backup.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. I would also just add that it is still a learning process for so many of us. I had the opportunity to work the detection systems, boots on ground. I felt like a member of TSA at the airport. I was like, cell phones, laptops, take them out. And it was just fun to be back on campus again, screaming. Anyway, I say all that to say it's a learning process. For example, at Central, we were just miffed at why a couple of girls just kept going off. And she'd pull out her keys and she'd pull out and it was the eyelash curler, which we all know is a very necessary component of the female repertoire. It's part of our gear. But there's something there's something in that. So it is still a learning process. Nuisance items is what we're going to call them. We're learning more and more about that as it sets with the settings, et cetera. Aluminum deodorant spray, also not good for you, but that's setting off some of the detection as well. So I do want to work with our principals to give our campuses a little bit of grace in those first few days. First of all, it's hot. It's very hot out there. We don't want to lower the expectation for on time, but we want our students to learn and be trained just like we are at TSA, right? We know to take our shoes off or whatever. I don't think you have to anymore, but we used to know to do that kind of stuff. So they'll get there. But in the meantime, I don't want to take a punitive approach to it because like Dr. Allen said, it has been such a success thus far. And we are seriously in our third or fourth day of it. So I do want to give it the first 2 weeks to really work out the kinks and just ask that the principals give that grace where necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. But back to my original question about how are we tracking tardies that are due to AWS. The fact that myself as a parent through ParentView and through email received a notification that my daughter was tardy and it was due to AWS. She was there before the gates closed. I want to make sure that moving forward, I mean, grace for the first week, definitely. This is a brand new system. We got thousands of students passing through it. But moving forward, how are we going to monitor those tardies that are due to this system? And how are we going to make sure that we rectify those tardies that shouldn't have been tardies?
Thank you, Board President Napa and governing board members, we have added to a field in Synergy for any infraction as a result of AWDS will be labeled as AWDS. So once that bell rings, if any student arrives after that bell, and they would have been tardy anyway, they would be marked tardy, regular tardy. Anytime there is a backup or there's a line or kids had to wait and they would have otherwise not been tardy, then that would be noted in the system that it was a result of AWDS, and so consequences would not be given. But we can track at least so that we can pull the data from Synergy and monitor and see how many are we seeing across the district who are legitimately late because of the system or not.
I think that's really, really great. Number one, that we're tracking it, but number two, that should be communicated in parent view to the parent, the type of tardy. Because if I'm ensuring my daughter is out the door, I mean, she was 10 minutes out the door prior to me, and she's like, it's 7 minutes door to door. She's clocked it. She would have arrived well before the first bell. And then the other thing I wanted to ask too is moving forward, data is really important, and I hold a special place for data. So I want to make sure too that our metal detector system is effective, but I also want to make sure that we're getting a report on how it's affecting attendance. If it's affecting attendance, I'd like to see, a breakdown for the first quarter, month to month, especially these return to school, right? We're going to have to get students in like first week, the first couple of days after winter break, fall break, things like that. I'd really like to see that.
Thank you, President Napa, and we are prepared, and we will be providing you with the reports on AWDS.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions? Board Member Cross, I can't call on you unless I see the light. There you go. Board Member Cross.
Thank you. Is it possible to get a copy of this PowerPoint? There were some charts on there that I kind of would like to have for knowledge, the attendance policy, and then there was something else in there. Right now I went blank. The policies, what's said during a lockdown and all that. I would like to have that. Thank you.
My last question, cell phone policy. Been looking on social media, people are not happy about the cell phone policy, but how are we tracking to make sure that the cell phone policy is making an effective effect on student behavior? Is that policy effective? How are we tracking that?
President Napa, members of the board, we have designated a special kind of tag, so to speak, in Synergy and in the discipline component so that we can start to monitor the impact it has on classroom instruction. I suspect, like many teenagers, there's going to be a testing period or maybe even a habit period where they're, depending on where they're keeping their cell phone, wanting to get it out. But again, this is something that we're committed to tracking. We also are going to be sending out an email to support to teachers that maybe are in their first year or second year and need additional support in having the cell phone locker in their classroom, whatever supports they may need to make sure that, again, it's not a classroom management issue or is it a student discipline issue, but we will be tracking that and bringing you a discipline report. I believe in the September meeting, we probably won't have a ton of data at that point, but that is something we're committed to tracking and doing continuous improvement on as the school year goes on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was my last question. I think that's the last question for the board. Let's move on. The next item is 12A, approval of proposed calendar of governing board meetings for 2026. Is there a motion to approve the proposed calendar of the governing board meetings for 2026?
I motion.
Second.
Motion has been made by Board Member Cota and seconded by Clerk Oliver. Is there any discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
There we go. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Representative Marquez. 12B, adoption of the 2025-26 governing board goals. Ms. Andrade.
President Napa, members of the board, at the July 18th retreat, the board honed in on 4 goals for the 25-26 school year, and Also considering taking out 26, 27 out to the community to get feedback. But again, as we speak about the 25, 26 this school year, we ask that we approve these goals in a public meeting, in a general board meeting where there's people and an audience. So I have brought the goals into the first board meeting of the year for recommendation for adoption.
Is there a motion to approve the proposed 2025-26 governing board goals?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Clerk Oliver and seconded by Board Member Cross, correct? Any discussion? I have a question. I thought we approved board goals for this academic year in April or May. Believe I'm seeing it on the agenda, and if they're different from these ones.
I'll be honest, I can't remember. Back to August, I'd have to go back and look at the minutes.
April,
but-
April,
I'm
April.
sorry, April, but you did discuss at the last board meeting bringing these back
Okay.
for a vote.
All right, thank you so much. Any further discussion? All right. Motion has been made by Clerk I already did that. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Was that Representative Marquez? Okay. Opposed, nay? Abstentions, motion carries. Next item is 12C, approval of revised governing board policy, CBI, evaluation of superintendent on the first reading. Ms. Andrade.
Again, President Napa, members of the board, this was discussed in draft format at the retreat. We're able to work on it to really solidify some of the framework as well as the dates so that they made sense with the board goals. And when the data comes back, then you evaluate the superintendent as opposed to doing it before the data comes back from the state. And again, I think we have a decent first draft for you or first read for you. And we're welcome to take any feedback between now and the second read. But I want to give a special thanks to Member Marquez and Ms. Fernandez for helping us just make sure that we get this right. Thank you.
President Napa?
Yes.
I just wanted to add one thing to notice on this policy that's a little different. The effective date of this policy is not until June of 2026, as was discussed during the retreat.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the revised policy?
Point of order, discussion?
When we
Oh, I'm
have
sorry.
a second.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Do we have a motion to approve the revised policy?
I'll move.
Thank you, Board Member Cross. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made by Board Member Cross and seconded by Board Member Meyer. Any discussion?
President Napa, Superintendent, so if I remember correctly, this part of these goals would be tied to the evaluation of the superintendent. And I know we had a very extensive conversation at our staff retreat, but I think there's still room for improvement here. And I'm just not fully comfortable with tying something so solid to an evaluation. So I just think we need to discuss this further.
Board Member, or Clerk Oliver.
I have a question for Board Member Cota. Is there something specific you want us to discuss?
Sir, so Board Member, I remember the policies. I just don't know. We had a hard metric number in there, if I remember correctly, and that is where I have some discomfort with. It's that hard metric of if this person doesn't meet this goal, and that's not always up to this. That's not always in the superintendent's ability to control too. So I just kind of feel like we're going to tie ourselves to something that we just don't always want in the future. So my concern is going forward, if we commit ourselves to this goal right now, we're going to always have to go back and change it every single time if we believe the goal should be moved, the goal should be reversed. So that's why I'm concerned with this.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The Board Member Marquez here. Member Cota, if you look at the updated draft for policy 12C, we took out the specific metrics that we discussed during the board retreat, and this draft should present as though we're saying that we're going to evaluate the superintendent based on metrics that we decide annually before June. So the point is that this goes into effect June 1st, but by June 30th for the following school year, we will come up with the agreed upon metrics for the next school year that the superintendent and the board agree on together. So we have a whole year to figure out what the metrics for the next school year will be. But we don't have the specific sort of evaluation tool in place yet, that we still have to figure that out between now and June.
Thank you, Representative Marquez. Board Member Meyer.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Cota, if you remember from the board retreat, as we discussed the data, we said it would be 75% of 75%. So it's like tying only a portion of the superintendent's evaluation to her performance evaluation. And that was just like a point of discussion. It was, we still have some flexibility in how we really want to measure that. But so far as that, this policy ties, like, the goal of the policy is to make it as like less biased by looking at actual data and data points and the way the decisions are made to get us to those data points. So what would you propose as a different, if we're looking at this as a database metric for only one portion of her evaluation?
Member and also representative as well. So again, I just think we're going to tie ourselves to a number here, and that is my general concern here. I know we don't have a number yet, but we're saying we're going to tie this evaluation to a hard number at the end of the day. And again, I'm of the concern, especially after a retreat, that that's not the right move for us going forward.
Board Member Cross.
And I was one of the ones that was not happy with the numbers, as we remember, but there's no percentages in this one for this first read. This made it very generic, so that we didn't have to rewrite it every year, and that we would implement on an annual basis what the goals are that we're looking at. So to me, we made it a very generic evaluation, and for someone who is totally against the percentages, I'm looking at this saying, okay, this is pretty generic. We can go from here on first read.
Any further discussion? Motion has been made.
Madam President,
Oh.
I just offered Member Cota, if we pass it tonight on first read, I'd be happy to work with you between now and second read to see if there's any additional changes you'd like to see as currently drafted.
Thank you, Representative Marquez. Any further discussion? On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item is 12D, approval of revised governing board policy IKF graduation requirements on first reading. Is there a motion to approve the revised policy?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. All right. Motion has been made by Clerk Oliver and seconded by Board Member Cross. Any discussion? Okay. Okay. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries. 12E, approval of revised governing board policy JICFA, hazing on first reading. Is there a motion to approve this revised policy?
Okay, you're going to tell me whether I can or cannot do this. All right. As I would like to move to combine E, F, G, H, and I and waive the second reading due to the fact that, one, we've already started the school year, two, because they are items that are policies already in place, they are already coded in our code of conduct, and they are statutory changes that have been made. So that's my motion.
That's a correct motion. We just need a second.
Second.
I'll let him go.
Motion been made by Board Member Cross to combine 12E, F, G, H, and I. Is that correct? Okay. Seconded by Clerk Oliver. Is there any discussion? Board Member Meyer.
President Napa? President Napa? I just want to clarify that the motion is to combine them and to waive second
Oh,
reading.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Since they're combined, do we add points to any of the discussion? Oh, okay, that makes sense. So I did want to talk about the 12G policy.
Board, Ms. Fernandez, do we have to approve it? Do we have to take a vote?
Oh, right, yeah.
Or can we just?
You're in discussion right now.
On all of them? Okay,
On all of
thank
them,
you.
Yes.
Yes, so it's just related to the part of 12G. It's student discipline on first reading, and there's a part that mentions confinement, and that's like state. I guess it's a possibility that board members are allowed to give schools the ability to give the use of confinement, but it's my understanding that Phoenix Union doesn't use that already. So then I figured if we could, if I could add to your motion to like in approval of, or in combining the policies, also to motion to remove the portion of the policy that includes confinement as a disciplinary option.
Board Member Meyer, you'd like to move to amend Board Member Cross's motion to add, to delete the confinement section under policy JK, correct?
Yes, thank you. What do you say?
I'll agree to that.
Okay, who was the second? I think it was Clerk Oliver. Will you accept the second? Will you also accept the amendment?
Yes, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Anything further, Board Member Meyer? Okay.
No, that is all. Let me turn off my light.
Go ahead.
So my question on that particular portion is that governed by Arizona Revised Statute, or can we alter that?
So the statute allows us to use confinement. What this section would do is it basically authorizes the superintendent to have confinement in schools, but she has to develop procedures on when that confinement would be appropriate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could someone describe what confinement actually means in practical application?
I think confinement is isolating a student in an area where they do no longer have access to the general education as far as other students or teachers.
Does that mean like a quiet or like a room specifically for this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Same page as the confinement, the second paragraph that reads, schools are not prohibited from adopting policies. We create the umbrella for district. The way this reads to me is that individual schools could adopt policies. Can I get clarification, please?
So with Board Member Meyer's motion, it would eliminate that paragraph altogether as well.
Okay, thank you.
President Napa?
Yes.
So has there actually been any instance of confinement used in our schools?
President Napa, members of the board, no, we never use confinement, to my knowledge.
So leaving this may not really impact anything. Is that how I understand this?
Correct, but it would certainly align the policy with the practice. But either way, we're not using it.
With the deletion of confinement, I see in the second paragraph as well, physical force. Would that be deleted as well? Procedures for the reasonable use of physical force by certified support staff.
So my understanding is Board Member Meyer's motion would delete everything starting with if confinement is authorized, all the way to the very end where it says subsection B, paragraph 3.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Forgive me while I scroll through my notes.
So it wouldn't include that.
H, we are governing board policy JKD student suspension. As I was, and this is, what page is it? Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
You have to vote on this.
This is all lumped together, right? So I can talk about this policy?
Yes.
Okay. The suspension, this is really technical and in the weeds, but it's mentioned here that either the hearing must be audio recorded on tape or an official record must be kept in some other appropriate manner. Are we really using like cassette tapes? Reel-to-reels?
No, we do not, President Napa, but because it does says another format can be used, we do audio recordings.
Okay.
So there's not a physical tape, but it is a digital recording.
Can we fix that language then? Just take it out?
Sure.
Make it more, yeah. Modern? Yeah, contemporary, please.
So again, that would be an amendment to the motion that was made by board member
Meyer?
Cross, sorry. So do you accept that amendment, board member Cross?
It's the, it's under student suspension. H, 12H. 12H, and it's 1, 2, bottom of the third page. C subsection 7, so we're looking at C7. And I think it pops up other places in the policy as well.
So to be clear, it would be to remove the words on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll approve that.
Board member Oliver, or Clerk Oliver?
Yeah, but I think I'm about to amend something else.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay. I'll accept that, but I'm going to ask for an amendment. On 12G, if we could leave in that last paragraph, schools are not prohibited from adopting policies which include procedures for reasonable use of physical force by certified or support staff, personnel in self-defense, defense of others, and defense of property. Back to you, Member Cross.
Clerk Oliver?
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for you, President Napa, but I believe that the issue you, and I believe Board Member Meyer also had raised previously, is the wording of schools. So I think if we could remedy that by using the district.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So Ms. Fernandez, does Board Member Meyer have to also agree to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
So just for your information, it would read, the district is not prohibited from adopting policies, instead of schools are not prohibited.
I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
Thank you.
And I second my amendment. It's getting complicated.
Anyone else? Because I have one more on I. Is this the I? Apologies to the audience. This is a 403-page PDF document that I'm trying to navigate through. Let's see. I just wanted clarification on, here it is. The first paragraph, a recommendation to expel shall be by the superintendent. The items that are struck are through the principal to a district-appointed hearing officer. I just want clarification why we are getting the principal out of the flow chart and just going directly to the superintendent.
Sure, President Napa. It's because that is the language in the statute. It's the superintendent that makes recommendations for expulsion, not the actual principal.
Okay. And then clarification for myself, the expulsion process to me is still very muddy. We get the expulsion and we vote on it. Could I get a flow chart of those steps from the incident all the way to appearing in front of the board for a vote?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's all I got. So what are we voting on?
Okay, let me see if I can get this right now. We're voting on combining policies under 12E, F, G, H, and I on the agenda, and waiving second reading, and the change that was made by Board Member Meyer to remove the language on the confinement section, and the change that was moved by Clerk Oliver, which was to leave the last paragraph of the confinement section with rewording it to say the district, and then removing the word audio from policy
Tape.
JKE.
We're removing tape.
Tape, yes, sorry.
Okay, that's the motion, and we have a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Board
Aye.
represent, okay. Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carries.
Call for roll call.
Denied. The next three items are for.
Point of order.
Denied. The next three items are for information only, no action required. Items 12J, 12K, and 12L, receipt of revised governing board regulation IHB-R, special instructional programs, receipt of revised governing board exhibit JICFA-EB, hazing, receipt of revised district organizational structure for the 2025-26 school year. These items are informational only, and though no action is required, receipt of governing board regulation IHB-R, exhibit JICFA-EB, and the revised district organizational structure for the 2025-26 school year is acknowledged. Can I ask a question on this informational only? Just a clarification for me and maybe people in the audience and watching this online. Because the hazing policy was earlier in this section, and now we have another revised governing board exhibit on hazing here. Can you explain what the difference between those two are? I know one's a regulation, correct?
Right, and the changes are basically to make the regulation changes conform with the changes that you made to the policy that you adopted earlier today. So they go hand in hand.
Okay,
both
thank
of the
you.
changes.
Thank you. Moving on, item 13A, next meeting. The next regular board meeting of the governing board is scheduled for Thursday, September 4th, 2025 at approximately 6 p.m. Item 13B, request for future agenda items. Board members, do you have any items? Board Member Cota.
President Napa. So again, I will reiterate the message that we include the inclusion of school resource officers on a future agenda item. I also believe we need to also reconsider our land acknowledgement policy in future meetings. I did find that highly offensive, the acknowledgement today, as a Native American, and I would consider that very insulting today, but I would ask that we respectfully remove those going forward.
Thank you. 14C, motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted maybe clarification, and you can get back to us later, but since we weren't able to acknowledge the Pride Month for June as previous years, I was wondering if we could look into doing that in October, since I understand Phoenix celebrates that in October time.
That's correct.
So if you can get me more information for that.
President Napa, Member Meyer, thank you for that, and we look forward to bringing that.
Thank you. Any further items? 14C, motion to adjourn. Having concluded our business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Clerk Oliver, and seconded by Board Member Meyer. On the motion, those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Representative, okay. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.